Whipta if I go LC with my niece and take back her gifts. So yesterday I went over to my sister's house to help her with some things. I was there for a couple of hours and took a little nap for hours because I was tired. After I woke up, I went home and my husband was being a little off and seemed kind of upset/unhappy. I'm like, "What's up?" and he says, "I'm being nice for someone who just texted what I did." I sent my kids upstairs and started asking what the hell was going on. He says I sent him divorce texts. I'm shocked because I never did that, which I let him know. I even showed him my phone, which did not show any such texts. He then shows me his messages under my name, and apparently I want a divorce. I was bamboozled because not only did I not think it, but I definitely did not text that. This affected him a little more because we had a fight the previous night, but we have a tradition of sorts, which is reassuring each other that we still love and care but are just upset at the moment. I'm only adding this because I said something along those lines in the morning before I left, which I brought up when I was defending myself against the text I supposedly sent. He then says I had done something similar previously. This is in reference to when I was pregnant and had some pseudo-bipolar symptoms, which have since been mostly resolved. I've only done this once, and it wasn't even on the same level, I just kind of used to have terrible mood swings. Also, this was only during the pregnancy, I have no bipolar diagnosis or anything like that. That whole journey was kind of traumatic and is not a pleasant memory for me, which he is aware of. Anyway, after we bicker for a little bit, I decide to call my sister and explain what was happening, and then I'm like, "Hey, can you pull up your house footage from while I was there this morning?" We're on FaceTime, and we fast forward to when I went to sleep. The outlet in the room I was in wasn't working, so I had plugged my phone in the dining area to charge while I slept. We see my 16-year-old niece on my phone, she was on it off and on for like 2.5 hours, smiling and giggling. I'm upset, and her mom is upset. She calls her and asks if she touched my phone while I was there, and she lies and says no. She asks her again 2 more times if she touched my phone, and she says she didn't. The laptop is faced away from her, and I believe she didn't realize I was on the phone or that we both already saw what she did. It was after my sister started trying to send me the footage, which I had initially asked for, that she saw that her mom had already seen what happened. She started apologizing and saying it was supposed to be a prank and she didn't mean anything by it. She called out to me too with apologies while she was crying. My sister is one of those silent when angry types, so she wasn't saying anything. I did not even know what to say at all at this time because why would she even think this was a fun prank, not to mention going into my phone without my permission. How she knows my password, I'm not sure because it's not simple or related to me. I had initially promised I would sponsor her 17th birthday, which is next month. She had previously also asked for a new PC, which I got, but it's supposed to be a surprise. I also happen to be her godmother. My question is, will I be overreacting if I take all these gifts back and keep a distance from her? Is it overkill? I feel maybe I'm punishing her for the way my husband reacted and brought up something traumatic for me. Also maybe his response is justified because he thought the texts were from me, and then I was all smiley and sweet when I came back. I'm confused on how to proceed, but Reddit has previously helped figure stuff out before, so I decided to turn to them again. Sorry if this was too lengthy, and let me know if there's anything I have to clarify. Thanks. Relevant comments. Commenter. The most important thing first is to make sure your husband knows what really happened and have your sister send him the video feed showing your niece on your phone. After you make sure he believes you, I would then go scorched earth with your niece. Actions have consequences and she needs to understand that now, and that is in no way any type of prank with most pranks. The person is there to see the outcome and say haha, your niece would have had no idea what was going on, so how would she even know the prank that was successful or not? And obviously, I would change on my passwords on everything including banking apps. Reply. He was present when I asked for the footage, and he has seen it too. Update. All these happened yesterday, I only posted because I was slightly conflicted. To answer common questions in the comments, yes, I slept for 4 hours at my sister's house, she's my sister, and we do stuff like that. I didn't say I was tired from what I helped her with, I was simply just tired. Both my sister and niece weren't aware of my husband's and my fight from the previous night. Niece also was not aware of the full extent of my mental health struggles from the pregnancy. Niece wasn't texting for 2.5 hours straight, she was on and off the phone. I assume she got off it when she thought she would be caught. Apparently, she has known my password for a while now, she learned it from looking over my shoulder at a family event from a couple of months back. Also, according to my sister, she has gone into my phone before, at least 3 times that she fessed up to. She has transferred money to herself, taken videos and pictures off it, gone through my texts with my kids and some other relatives, stolen other people's numbers, gotten passwords for my streaming services that they didn't own, and gone through my other texts with my husband. And yes, there's very NSFW stuff in there. My husband is okay. We talked, and he apologized for how he spoke to me, but I told him I totally understood why he would say what he said. I also apologized for my reaction. We are okay on our front and decided we were both justified given what we both individually knew. Back to the niece, the only other thing she did according to her, was transfer more money. I checked my recently deleted texts, and there was nothing suspicious there, but I don't know if you can delete texts from recently deleted. She also said she thought the prank would be funny because there was no way my husband would believe all that stuff she texted because, according to her, he loves me too much and we have a perfect relationship. In the texts, he had only replied that we would talk when I got home and that he wasn't going to have that conversation with me over texts. This girl went all the way to add that I would send the papers in a couple of days and talk about the kids with lawyers. I can't explain how absolutely pissed I am. The plan is to go absolutely no contact with her after learning of all the other stuff she did. There will be no birthday and no PC. Someone said to put up a post saying if anyone got a questionable text from me in the last 24 hours to let me know. I did that, no one had reached out yet, so I'm hoping it was just my husband. I'm getting my money back, I checked, and in total she has sent over $700 to herself that I wasn't aware of. She did not send it in bulk, just little bits here and there. I guess I did not catch on because I do send her money often, and I do have quite a bit in my account, so it wasn't obvious. Her mother will send the money to me from her daughter's savings later this weekend. I told her mother about the suggestions you guys gave on community service and therapy. I'm low-key scared for her future relationships and college life. She would not have any electronic devices for the rest of the summer. Personally, I do not want to lay eyes on her in the near future. Oh, and yes, she has done this before to one of her friends whom she is still friends with. I don't know why anyone would remain friends with someone like that. This hurt a lot because I love this child so much. I was more present than her father the first 11 years of her life. She used to come to me for her struggles and problems and all that teenage stuff. She had her first period at my house. Her other cousins on her dad's side are jealous of our relationship, for goodness sake. She was my favorite one. I don't really care what her mom does about all these, I just want my money back and to never speak to her for now. In the future, I might be open to some contact. I blocked her number, so she sent me a long email which I haven't read yet, and her mom also brought a handwritten apology letter from her to my husband. My sister is aware of my decisions and has apologized for her daughter's behavior. My mom is also aware of the situation now. I have no doubt it is about to become an extended family problem. Anyway, that's that for now. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. There will be no birthday and no PC. Will there be police for all the different crimes? Reply. We have decided not to go the legal route. I already got my money back with an additional $300. I have not really decided what to do about the snooping, pictures, videos and passwords for now. Commenter 2. Nta, please tell me you've now changed all of your passwords. Reply. We all have. Me, my husband and kids. Update. Wibta if I go LC with my niece and take back her gifts. Hey all, it's been a couple days, and I have gotten a bunch of messages about updates. Right now, we're still going through resulting situations from all these, so I'll just give what I have for now. I don't know if I'm adding this update right. If I am, good, if not, I'm sorry, and the first part of this is on my profile. First, I'll answer common questions. A lot of people seem to be hung up on the 4-hour nap a lot. I am a sleeper. I love to sleep. I sleep at her place all the time, it's not that deep, but it is probably why I am in this predicament anyway. Another thing is the cameras. In this day and age, I think people should have cameras in their houses. I have them at my place too. I got them installed after I hired my first babysitter, and I have figured out a lot of stuff from reviewing footages. It does not have to be in every room, just common areas. On to the actual update. My niece came over to formally apologize to my husband and me. She cried throughout the entire apology. She said she hadn't done it to anyone else, just me. I kept asking why, and she just kept repeating she was sorry. My husband thinks she probably thought I would be the one to forgive the easiest. I told her exactly why I was upset and how she had hurt me and my husband. I told her I would be going low contact with her for the foreseeable future. I let her know I canceled the birthday and any gift she would have gotten. The only thing she would get from me is her first college tuition, which I had promised a long time ago. I'm doing this more as a courtesy to my sister than anything else. I know it would help her a great deal. Niece will also not be allowed in my house for the foreseeable future. Her dad also reached out and apologized to us. We have decided not to go the legal route as a favor to my sister's family. They have a lot on their plate right now, and I would not want to make their life more complicated. During this conversation, she denied having a crush on my husband, as a lot of you guys had suspected. I asked if she felt I wasn't being attentive enough to her, and she said no. Oh, and I found out she had texted 2 other people. It was nothing serious, but still. Some people were asking if she had mental issues. To my knowledge she has none. She was tested when she was younger, and she had none. She kind of liked drama in elementary and middle school, but nothing worrisome. We told her she would be starting therapy, to which she said nothing was wrong with her. My husband then said people who are okay wouldn't do what she did. Her mother added that it was just to help her go about things in more normal ways. Also, the PC will be going to my brother's son, who will be going to college this fall. It will probably be more useful to him. My kids have since blocked her. She was made to get a new job. She previously worked for her uncle on her dad's side, but they thought it would be better if she worked somewhere entirely different with no family relations. My mom has been upset with my husband and me. She said we were going too far and that she was just a kid. One of my uncles and 2 of my aunts are on her side and have been harassing us with texts and calls. My sister and her husband are on our side though. Over a couple days following the conversation at my place, my mom has been updating us that my niece was depressed, cries every day, and keeps repeating that she did not mean it, everyone hates her, and is no longer speaking to her. That her second mom no longer loves her or cares about her. She says they have taken away everything from her. TW. Self-harm. On the 12th, my niece attempted to take her life. Her older sister found her. She left a note apologizing for all the hurt she caused and said we would all be better without her. She wrote that she would be better off gone than have to live her life knowing I hate her and that my kids do not want to be close to her anymore. She wrote a lengthy letter actually, but I can't fit it all in here. She currently is still in the PED's ICU, as she had done some extensive damage to herself. I have been to the hospital every day since I found out. My husband says maybe we went too far. My mother says she will curse me and never speak to my family if I do not make things go back to the way they were. My children think it is their fault and are willing to apologize for blocking and cutting her off. I am more conflicted than I was a week ago. It's like everyone is looking to me to fix it all. I don't really know what to do right now. My sister keeps saying I don't have to do anything, but she has been bawling. My niece's other siblings have all texted me variations of, I know she hurt you, but forgive and forget because she almost died. My extended family has been a lot too. You're a grown woman waging war on a 16-year-old, you are evil and don't deserve good things. I hope your life ends up like what you're giving niece. I have gotten messages from strangers too because my sister's mother-in-law posted on FB that I was a bitter woman hurting her granddaughter and a bunch of other things. So, the past 3 days have been mentally miserable for me. Not to take away from what my sister's family is going through, but I am sad, heartbroken, confused, and just tired. Please send prayers my sister's way. I'm not sure how all this is going to end, but I'll let everyone know when she's out of the ICU and whatever else happens. Thank you for all your advice and supportive words. I appreciate it all. Update 3, Wipta if I go LC with my niece and take back her gifts. Thank you everyone for your comments, DMs, and advice. I've gotten a lot of DMs and comments for an update, so I'll tell you what's happened since the last update. First, I want to give the biggest shout out to my sister, niece's mom. She can't see this, but I just want those words out there. I have said them to her too, but I want you guys to hear it too. She has not only been my biggest defender against all the flying monkeys despite what she is going through, but she has also been so good to me. She stood up for me to my mother and relatives. She also counter-posted on FB after all that stuff from her mother-in-law. Secondly, I want to address those asking how my niece did it and how she was found. She ingested something harmful, we're not exactly sure of what it was, but it was a mixture of cleaning supplies. Her oldest sister found her on the bathroom floor. She was extubated on the 16th after she got a whole bowel irrigation and one-time hemodialysis because she had given herself an acute kidney injury. She was intubated for 26 hours. She is now out of the ICU and is now on the PED's MedSurg unit. The same evening she left the ICU, she had to be put on a 72-hour psych hold and will be transferring to an inpatient psych facility when she is medically cleared. She did get a psych evaluation, and so far, she has been diagnosed with ADHD, depression, and histrionic personality disorder. The psychiatrist says she might also have borderline personality disorder, but that would be determined better at the psych facility. I am still low contact with my niece. I've only had one phone call with her in which I told her I loved her and we're getting her help. Her therapist said to reinsert my presence in her life but make no promises like, if you get help, we'll be okay, or something like that. She says since I've previously been a positive presence, it might help to have me in the background while she heals. She gave suggestions for my background presence, like letters, phone calls, or visits if I feel like it. I am not to give her any gifts or rewards. I haven't decided which one to go with yet. I might just send a letter monthly. My sister did look through my niece's phone and found no NSFW pictures of me or my husband, but she did delete the streaming apps my niece got access to. I know some people were worried about her taking those photos. I know she saw them, though. My children are in therapy, both individual and family. My husband and I finally explained the entire thing in detail to them, including my struggles during my first pregnancy and how niece's prank was a trigger. The therapist helped us facilitate the whole thing better. Niece's other siblings are in therapy now too. The oldest has since apologized for her texts and harsh voicemails. We have also sent the kids to my in-laws for the next 3 weeks. Therapy will be online. I also blocked my mother on their phones. They are to speak to none of my relatives for now. My mother doubled down and started coming at my children via texts and calls. That's one of the reasons we sent them away. My niece's dad, broke down while she was still comatose and did a full 180. He left me a long voicemail saying I was hurting his baby girl and ripping her away from him. I did not like him when he first started dating my sister, and he says I was using my niece to break him because I hated him. If something happens to her, he won't forgive me. This is a complete opposite of his stance before. I don't know if it's grief or his mom in his ears. He is now at odds with his wife because she agrees with keeping the consequences we all agreed on, but the husband says to relent. My family and my other sisters are trying to be her, niece's mom, support in every way that we can. I have had to completely cut my mother off from my family, including some of my aunts and uncles. My dad is divorced from my mother and lives on the other side of the country. He is on my side with this whole thing. I have 2 brothers, and they're both on my mom's side, while all my sisters are on my side. My mother sent me a very devastating text that I'll just copy and paste here because I don't even know if I can explain it. Aria, you are the most disgraceful child I have ever birthed. I curse the day you were put in my arms. Your life will never know peace as long as you never give peace to Cece. You're so vile, and you will go to hell for causing this amount of harm to your sister's family. You are no daughter of mine, and I do not claim you. Do not call me your mother. Keep your unclean children away from me too. If you come close to me, I'll strangle you and feed you toilet cleaners. How niece attempted. What kind of mother sends this to her child? I took a screenshot, blocked that number, and printed off a copy of the text. This devil incarnate of a woman proceeded to email me 2 days after to tell me to send my share of money for remodeling her house. Yeah, like a cursed child would do that. I simply blocked her email too. I don't even know why she called my children unclean. I had them all post-marriage and with one man. This has been the longest month of my life, and it isn't even over yet. I had a panic attack the other day because of everything. This darling man that I am married to has been my biggest rock and support. I genuinely do not know what I would do without him. How I would repay him for all this, I do not know. I spend most days just crying. My mental health is suffering, my work is suffering, and I am just tired. I know this was super long, so if you've read all this, thank you. Thank you for sticking with me and holding me up with your words and virtual presence. You all probably see this often, but I genuinely want to thank each and every one of you. I can't wait for all this to be over so I can get some normalcy back and be able to breathe well again. Stories number 2. BAL's fiance claims my family never RSVP'd, but I'm the only one without a seat. I'm still reeling and trying to process this, so bear with me. My brother-in-law is getting married soon. My husband is the best man, and our 4-year-old is the ring bearer. I'm a part-time party planner, so I've been helping plan a small luncheon for the bridal party, immediate family, and a few vendors on the wedding day. So I'm not exactly a fringe guest here. The RSVP deadline was a few weeks ago. I filled out the online form and submitted it the same day the invitation came in the mail, with my husband sitting right next to me. We RSVP'd for the 3 of us, me, my husband, and our son. Easy peasy, right? Well, BAL's fiance, SAL, reached out today over text saying we never RSVP'd. Not, hey, I never saw your RSVP, just checking, but straight up, you didn't respond. Which is frustrating on its own, but then she tells us that while my husband and son have seats at the reception as they were in part of her original head counts, I do not. My husband was told I could come early with him to set up the luncheon still and stay for the ceremony, but that I would not have a spot at the reception. Let me repeat that, I'm married to the best man, mother of the ring bearer, and helping with wedding day logistics, including connecting SIL with some of my professional contacts. And she somehow decided I just wouldn't be coming. And she never followed up before the RSVP deadline. Just, what? I'm torn between feeling hurt, furious, and just flabbergasted. And used, I definitely feel used. At best, this was a sloppy mistake that she's not owning. At worst, it feels like a pointed exclusion. I'm not sure which stings more. My husband is going to handle the conversation with his brother to figure out what is going on, because I genuinely don't trust myself to be polite and keep the peace. There was no other drama leading up to this that I was aware of. I have a good relationship with my in-laws. So yeah, this is totally out of left field for me and my husband. I would love to hear thoughts, especially from people who've gone through something similar. I don't typically touch weddings with work, so this is all new territory for me as a pseudo-vendor/guest. My husband wants to reach out and talk to his brother first, but I'm so tempted to reach out to my MIL before our usual meetup tomorrow to see if she knows anything. Edit 1 from comments. Small update, husband and BL are talking now. BL was not working today, last night, and was helping FIL with something this evening. When I called MIL, she had BL call husband right away. From what MIL and I can hear, we're snoopy, my husband was muted on BIL's phone and my contact was deleted. BL can't log into the wedding website, so he can't check to see if our RSVP was there. I'm not sure if I want to become a firecracker myself or get some popcorn as I watch MIL pop off. Edit 2 from comments. Okay, here's the last update for the night. I am tired and a bit overwhelmed by all of your responses. I'm sorry I haven't replied to them all, but I have read most of them. Again, thank you for your advice and just general support during this really weird and upsetting time. TLDR, BL don't know, and now the wedding is up in the air. He's currently staying with MIL and FIL to have some space from SIL. So, my husband finally got a hold of BL after I called MIL. No one else knew this was going on. While they were talking, BL tried logging into their wedding website to see if this was a mistake or misunderstanding, but couldn't log in. So he texted SIL to see if she changed the password, and she just told him to come home instead. This set off 3. 1. BL ended the call with husband to call SIL about why she couldn't answer a simple question. 2. MIL popped off about, how dare that woman exclude OP. 3. MIL and FIL popped off on BL for already living with SIL. They are very religious and traditional and don't believe that a couple should live together before marriage. Husband and I sympathize with BL. BAL and SIL argued over the phone. Apparently she started claiming that it was an unfortunate glitch and it was too late to add another seat now. Then it was that we never jived, and would it really be so bad if I went home early? Plus I could take our son home with me because he would be tired by then, at 5 p.m. This woman does not know kids ISTG. Then it was I've always been mean and excluding her from things, even though she's never invited me to any of the girly fun wedding events. At this point my husband and I are glued to my phone as we're hearing yelling from all 4 of them until SIL hangs up. BIL is spending the night at his parents' and is unsure about the wedding now. He plans on going home tomorrow, with husband going with for moral support. I'll be going with hubby to my in-laws to hang out until we hear back about the situation at the battlefront. Edit 3. I have posted an update but don't know how to link it on mobile. Update. BL's fiance claims my family never RSVP'd, but I'm the only one without a seat. So hi to preface, I did not expect my post to blow up the way it did. Several commenters mentioned it just popped up in their recommended and, holy geez, it got way bigger than I could have ever imagined. So, thank you. I think. It's super overwhelming on top of the real-life soap opera I'm living through this weekend. Just to clarify something from the original post, I did not plan everything for the wedding. I offered to bring food for a small luncheon between photos, 10 a.m., and the ceremony, 4 p.m., as dinner wasn't planned until 6 p.m. It was going to be a long day at a farm in the middle of nowhere. I offered to do it to be nice but also to make sure no one, specifically a certain 4-year-old, would be hangry for the ceremony. SIL also only used one of my vendor contacts, so with things going south my professional reputation shouldn't really be impacted. Update. Turns out, that no seat for OP issue was the problem that broke BIL's relationship. And we're a bit upset BL didn't talk to anyone about this until it blew up. Behind the scenes, BIL and SIL were having arguments about their future together. Most of these arguments centered around having kids. Early on, SIL gave the impression that she wanted children someday. But as they got more serious, she started backtracking. A few months ago BL realized that it's very likely SIL never wanted kids, but felt too invested in the relationship to leave. But BAL always imagined having a large family, so this really shook him. On top of that, SIL apparently had jealousy and insecurity issues. Per BAL, I've been her latest target, which started when I turned down going to a mani-pedi with her. Why did I turn her down? Husband and son had rotavirus. Apparently I was icing her out by not wanting to spread gastrointestinal doom. Can anyone please explain this logic to us? Lastly, SIL was apparently already floating the idea of disinviting our son from the reception because he would have been the only small child there. BL shut that down immediately, and MIL/FIL kept that knowledge from us to spare our feelings. Ergo, our lost RSVP was not a software glitch. Nor was it an oversight, but a rather stupidly calculated move. SIL was apparently hoping one of two things would happen. Either I would make a scene about being disinvited and be seen as the problem. Or we would quietly accept our fate and she would not have to deal with two undesirables at her reception. With all of this in mind, I can't figure out why she would have messaged my husband instead of me. Was she trying to cause more family drama? Again, the logic is not logic king. BIL was already feeling some uncertainty because of the shifting kids/no kids conversation. But the deliberate seeding stunt gave him the last push and clarity he needed. BL told my husband it was a level of manipulation and cruelty that he could not overlook. So he ended things and asked for the ring back. No wedding, no reception. Just a super messy, emotionally heavy, and expensive breakup. And I feel so bad for Bill. He's going through so much heartache right now, but he deserves better in a partner. Hopefully SAL can find a family dynamic that doesn't feel like a never-ending battlefield. That's all for now. I'm still tired, I'm still flabbergasted. But I'm also relieved this wedding arc is coming to an end. Stories number 3. My 21F, friend, 21F, invited herself on my trip and won't take no for an answer. My US friend group is pretty diverse and we've all visited each other's home countries in the past 2 years. We either stayed in a hotel or a family home, depending on space. I'm going to my home country for 2 months and a half in the summer. All of my friends have known since Christmas pretty much, and all of them know it's not an open invite like usual because I'm not going for fun. I'm spending my time there with my family and I'm going to be busy with my fiance finalizing everything wedding related. So, my friend decided that she didn't want to go home for the summer, instead wanted to come with me and decided that she'll just stay at my family home like before. I told her that it really won't be a good time, plus, we're not opening the family home for anyone outside of family this year, for a very good reason. Instead of accepting that, she asked about my other accommodations. I told her they're in use and not available. I didn't offer a hotel, and from the way she's been talking, she can't afford one right now. So instead of giving up, she said that she can just go there and figure it out then, which in my opinion translates to, I will fly there and make it your problem so you have no choice but to accommodate me. I told her if she does that, she'll have to truly figure it out on her own because I'm not budging or folding. She laughed it off and told me that obviously because she didn't mean it like an ultimatum. I asked her if she's okay, if there's something going on at home or with her personally, etc., because it's not like her to do something like this. She said everything's good. I, however, feel like I'm stuck. If she goes through with her brilliant figure it out plan, she'll be a foreign woman in a country she's only visited twice before with a guide, aka me, who doesn't speak the native language or understand the map, etc. I can't leave her alone no matter what I warned her I'd do. Advice, please. Sum of comments. Commenter 1, I'd just be really direct with her. Hey, I know we usually travel in groups, but this trip really is just for fiance and I. We're staying with family and we've got a packed schedule. I genuinely will not have the time to spend with you nor space to accommodate you. And then just leave it. Don't share any more info about your trip, not the dates you're going or the flight you're booked on. She's an adult, and if she makes the choice to go down there on vacation, that's totally up to her, but she'll have to fend for herself because you've made it clear this was not an open invitation and you're not going to be entertaining or hosting her. Reply, the thing is that I've already told her all of this, but I think she thinks we're being overdramatic or something. She doesn't know the exact date I'm leaving or my flight details, but she doesn't need to in a way. She knows the time frame, which is early July to early September, so she can technically fly there within that. I know that if she does go through with it that I need to stick to my guns, but I will also be worried about her because it's the same person who's gotten lost in malls multiple times lol. Commenter 2, text her, so it's written and she can't say she misunderstood. As I mentioned before, I will be visiting my family and we are not inviting anyone this year. The family has plans and I will not be available at all during that period. Or something like that, very clear and to the point, do not let any room for interpretation. Reply, something similar is written out in our friends group chat, so I guess that counts. Update, edit. So I took the advice and sent her a long text copy-pasted from one of the comments with just a few things changed up. Then I sent another text to my friends group chat just to make sure again that they know it's not an open invite, and then I wrote out why I'm making sure and what's been said between my friend and I. She left me on scene privately but replied in the group chat that she's not daft, she understood me perfectly the first time, and what she decides to do with her time and vacation is none of my business. I told her that she should stop making it my business then and stop telling me about her summer plans altogether if it involves my home country. She replied that I don't have a claim to the country, and that my family's reason for not opening up our home is stupid and that we need to get over ourselves because it's not the second coming of Christ. I told her she's free to her opinion just like I'm free to mine, and that in my opinion, she's acting like an entitled brat. I added that she should lose my number until she's ready to apologize, tell me what's wrong, because she's clearly not okay emo, it's not like her, and talk it out like adults. If anyone's wondering, what she perceives as not the second coming of Christ is my eldest brother and his wife welcoming their second baby in mid-July, and my parents, my other older brothers, and I being the village that we are and helping them while also spoiling my toddler nephew rotten lol. So no guests or visitors are allowed outside of our immediate family while my Asiel heals and she and my brother adjust, per their request. Update post. However, things ended up happening much sooner. We didn't talk for nearly 2.5 weeks after my last text, and I didn't see her much at Hangouts since she was mad at the rest of our friends as well. They didn't exactly take sides, but they did point out that her plan was plain stupid. Anyway, she ended up coming to one of the girls' place for a group dinner, and we had a private-ish chat. She finally opened up about why she's acting like that, and as it turns out, she has a huge crush on one of my brothers and was hoping she'd get him alone this summer and shoot her shot with him. It's annoying, but I've been used to having friends having crushes on my brothers and my dad my whole life, so I just let her talk. She admitted that she has been sending him DM on IG trying to get to know him, but he's been politely cordial at best and ignores half of her texts. Then she started asking me about him, about his dating history, which had me disgusted because he's bi, and she wanted statistics on if he's been more into girls or guys so she can figure out her chances, and then asked me to help her out. She gave me examples of moments that happened on our last trip with me and my brother, dancing, water fights, karaoke, etc., that I could help her recreate with him, which is just disturbing because she made my brother and I sound romantic, and it just helped multiple my disgust. When she was done, I told her that she needed to come out of her fantasy and back to reality. She was starting to creep me TF out. I told her that the fact is that my brother isn't shy. If he was interested in her, he would act like it, and him ignoring her speaks volumes. Besides that, I told her that she knows I don't involve myself in any of my brother's relationships, and even if I did, I would never allow anyone to use me for insider information. Then I said that this conversation was over and to never bring it up with me again. She got pissed as told me that I'm possessive and acting like a guard dog to my brothers, and that I need to get over myself because there was a spark between them on our last trip. I just got up, said bye to my friends, and left because she's clearly deluded herself into believing something that doesn't exist. On our last trip, my brother was so into the guy he was seeing at the time that he accidentally called the rest of our brothers by his name multiple times, lol. Anyway, I've cut her off completely, and with everything that's happening right now, she got scared of traveling and dropped her plans. What she told my friends, it sucks to lose her as a friend since we were close and all that, and I don't know how it'll affect the group yet, but shit happens and I have too much going on to dwell on it right now. I, on the other hand, moved up my traveling and will hopefully be back in my home country in the next few days along with my family, which will allow us to celebrate my dad and one of my brothers on Father's Day, so yay, we celebrate on the 21st there. Sum of comments. Commenter 1, I have a feeling I know where you're traveling and it's batshit crazy for this girl to think she can just rock up and wing it. Absolutely drop dead gorgeous country, but I speak 2 of the local languages and I'd still be more comfy traveling with a group or my partner. This is not a beginner-level travel destination for the average American. Reply, if you're guessing Lebanon, then you would be right. And yes, I've lived there half of my life, and I still get lost sometimes taking shortcuts and ending up in a whole different area than the one I meant. Editor's note, OOP has some other posts talking about Lebanon, which is why the commenter guessed this. Commenter 2, might want to warn your brother about her. Her obsession is creepy at best, and could very well escalate if she continues to spiral into delusions. Reply, I already talked to him, and he just shrugged it off. It makes sense for him, I guess, not to be worried since he doesn't live in the US and is only going to be in our home country for the planned time frame like the rest of us. Commenter 3, still a real possibility that she shows up at their house in the other country. Reply, she got scared with everything that's going on in the Middle East right now and put the idea out of her head. Still, even if she does somehow get to the airport, I'm a 100% she couldn't point a taxi driver north or south, much less manage to get to our home. On how the brothers reacted and if they made fun of him when he called them the wrong name. They did lol. Each time they or he entered a room, they would reintroduce themselves and explain who they are like he's a dementia patient. They also got name tags for each of them so he can remember, and even got one for our at the time baby nephew and pinned it to his onesie, just in case, and refused to take them off when we went out. Commenter 4, even if, when I had a crush on someone, I would never ask someone to put us in a position to better my chances. If it doesn't happen organically, I don't want it. She's creepy and obsessive. Reply, exactly. I'm now engaged to my eldest brother's best friend, but back when I was interested in him and he still saw me as his best friend's little sister, I never, ever, asked my brother to play matchmaker or tell me stuff about him I could use to soften him up or shit like that. It would have been manipulation, in my opinion, and just plain disgusting and desperate. I feel sorry for her because she's beautiful and any guy would be lucky to have her. She doesn't need to resort to tricks and lies. Stories number 4. Aita for shrugging when my dad's wife asked me what she was supposed to do if I only ever see her as my dad's wife and not as my parent. My dad, 49M, married Colette, 47F, 2 years ago. I, 17M, am dad's only child and he was a single dad my whole life pretty much. My mom isn't involved in my life at all and she's chosen to have nothing to do with me. It's fine. I stopped caring years ago and saw this as normal. For years now I haven't longed for a mom or a two-parent home. When my dad and Colette met 3 years ago we got along fine, but I wasn't jumping up and down going yay I have another parent. I showed her respect, but beyond her dating my dad, and then marrying him a year later, I wasn't looking for her to take on a parental or motherly role in my life. My dad and I talked about it a couple of times. He wanted to know if any part of me wanted to explore Colette taking on a motherly role in my life and I said no. He helped set those boundaries. But since they got married she's tried to push them a little. Never too bad until recently though. I won an award for my school and me and the 2 other kids who won awards were asked to pose with their parents for the school newsletter. Colette was upset that it was just me and dad. And she was upset that in the 2 years since they got married she stayed in dad's wife camp and hasn't been given a chance to show she can be a good parent to me. I told her it was nothing personal, but I wouldn't have been willing to let anyone try that when I was 14/15 and not now either. She asked dad to step in and he told her that I was respectful and didn't exclude her all the time, but I had been clear about dad being my only parent. She didn't like hearing that, but it wasn't until a couple of days ago she asked me what she was supposed to do if I only ever see her as dad's wife and never as my parent. I shrugged because I really didn't have anything to say. That's for her to work out. But it made her pretty angry and she told me it was disrespectful to shrug off something as important as that. Stories number 5. AIO for walking out when my sister-in-laws tried to put a $400 surprise cake on my card. Long-time reader, first-time poster. I'm a guy in my early 40s, married 12 years to a brilliant wife who is the one that keeps me sane enough to survive things like family dinners, lol. For background, my family calls me the restaurant guy, because I can monologue about favorite dishes that are long gone like Planet Hollywood's crispy chicken piccata. So it was no shock that my sister-in-law asked me to book a place for my brother Dan's 40th that could handle a big crowd, so I used a usual reservation site, not trying to give free advertising, tossed in my cart to lock the table, and picked a well-known LA spot that has old-school vibes with a huge Scotch list. We're British. Figured we'd split the bill like always. The day comes, last Saturday, dinner's rolling, prime rib and cocktails everywhere, when the lights dim and a damn near 3-tier cake with Dan's name shows up to the table. We do the thing and not 10 minutes later the manager thanks me for prepaying and hands me a bill for $400 plus auto tip, saying my sister-in-law told him I wanted to go big and to put it on the card used for the reservation, but was denied because they can't do that. First I've heard of it. I could tell he knew I was genuinely flabbergasted by hearing this. I told the manager the cake wasn't on me, had him reverse the charge, and he did that questions asked. I wished Dan happy birthday and headed home. So all Sunday and this past week, even on the holiday, the family chat is going crazy and all but saying I ruined the night and made everyone scramble to cover dessert, an expense they weren't prepared for. Yes, I've pretty done well in this world, thanks to my portfolio, but don't want to be taken advantage of, probably my biggest ick. Frankly, I would have covered the whole meal without issue, but there's something off about trying to stick a fancy cake on my card without asking, feels shady. It's not gonna change the way some in my family feel, but I'm posting here for a little validation and it might help me think I'm not the one taking crazy pills here. Am I overreacting, or did she indeed push it too far? Stories number 6. Aita because I skipped graduation when my mom didn't do the one thing I asked. My graduation was last Thursday. I, 17F, had a really bad senior year. Last year, my mom decided to move the family so my sibling, 15MTF, could get therapy and treatment she couldn't had in our home state. I wanted to live with my grandparents, parents are divorced and dad works overseas, but she refused. I had to quit swimming and couldn't get on a team at my new school. I was bullied for my accent and who my sister is. I had to leave my friends behind and couldn't make any new friends. I tried to get help, but mom shut that down and said my sister had it worse than me. My senior year sucked. I didn't even want to walk at graduation because what was the point? The move torpedoed my chances of swimming and going to college. What is there to celebrate? My mom said I had to walk because it was important to everyone. That this was a big milestone that I should be proud of. I told her I would only go if she got me an orchid lei. I've always wanted one at graduation. She said she would get one for me, but on Thursday, she said she forgot and that money was tight this month because of my sister's treatment. By the time she tried to order one, every store was out but that she would try and make it up to me. I was crying during the car ride to school. When it came time for everyone to go to the stadium, I stayed back. I cried a lot, then I walked to a McDonald's and stayed there until the ceremony was over. My mom is furious at me for not showing up. She said I embarrassed her and that I was acting like a spoiled brat who didn't get her way. I snapped and told her that I had to give up everything to come to this place and that she didn't do the one thing I wanted her to do. She never gave a shit about me. Right now, I'm grounded. She won't talk to me until I apologize to her. I'm trying to figure out a way to get back to my grandparents once I turn 18. Still, Aita for not going to graduation over a lei. Stories number 7. Boyfriend exploded because of his ex appearing first in his algorithms. Now I don't know how to feel. I've been with my boyfriend for a while and we're currently away at his other house with his family. A few nights ago, I was watching Instagram reels with him in his phone and noticed something that really threw me. On the top right corner of the screen, where it shows who's interacted with the reel, there were 3 profile bubbles: his best friend, me, and his ex. His ex was ranked first, me second, and best friend third. Now, I didn't scream. I didn't accuse him of cheating. I didn't act crazy. And when that happened I went a little quiet and he immediately got up and said he's going for a cigarette. He then came back in and was like, I know you're upset about seeing my ex, but trust me, I have no idea that he hates her and has had her account muted for a year and a half and hasn't once looked on her profile or had anything with engagement. I was weird and he immediately turned over and slept and was like, I'll give you space. I accepted because everything was just a bit weird and I then properly talked about it when we had woken up. I just said, I tease weird, why is your ex showing up first? And I told him I'd looked into how the algorithm works, and based on everything I found, Instagram ranks those people based on your own recent activity. It's not random. It's not just because they dated once. It's usually based on things like profile views, story taps, searches, and engagement. He exploded so quick. He said, I don't give a FCK if you break up with me, it's all on you. I haven't done anything. You're ruining this. We're throwing away everything we built over a stupid fking Instagram thing. I never once brought up anything about breaking up, literally just said I still felt weird and more so now because I did some research. I was in shock a little for the reaction, but he does have a pattern to react very badly and explosive when faced with conflict. I didn't even accuse him. I just said I felt weird and that what I saw didn't match what he was telling me. I said I still felt confused and wasn't sure if I could fully believe it was nothing, because if he hasn't interacted with her at all in over a year and a half like he claimed, then why is she ranked higher than me? I talk to him every day. We send each other reels. I watch all his stories. I'm his girlfriend. His reaction got worse. He stormed out of the house, called his mom to say he was leaving, then came back and kept making me feel like I was destroying everything by even bringing it up. Then he said, I gave you space when I went to sleep and you're still acting like this, as if disappearing or emotionally shutting down was a valid response to my confusion. Eventually, he started crying hard, saying people have told him this before about his behavior and that he just felt so unfair. He then said he doesn't want to tell me he can change and then hurt me again, and he said that I don't know if I can change. This is just how I am, sad face. So basically, I'm supposed to forgive him because he's too innocent to stay calm. He told me that if he had been guilty, he'd have acted completely differently and more apologetic, more cooperative. But because he's not guilty, I'm supposed to excuse the fact that he swore at me, flipped the whole situation around, made me feel like I was crazy, and punished me emotionally. The logic is if I was guilty, I'd be nicer. But I'm so innocent that I had to scream at you, swear at you, blame you, storm off, and shut down. That's how you should know I'm telling the truth. Oh, and when I asked why his ex was still showing up that way, he said, well, I was with her for 4 years. Of course she'd be high in my algorithm. But again, they broke up a year and a half ago, and Instagram doesn't keep people at the top of your rankings for sentimental reasons. If I'm his current girlfriend, engaging daily, how is his ex above me unless he's done something to reactivate her relevance? And I know it's not random, because why would I be second and his best friend third? And instead of being open or offering transparency like check my search or look through my account, he just unfollowed her on the spot. And was like, see, I'll just unfollow her, I should have done it a while ago, I hate her, she was mean to me. Like that was supposed to prove something. Now he's trying to act like it's no big deal, that the algorithm just changes and people pop up randomly, and that I need to stop overthinking. But I'm still sitting here feeling sick, confused, and blamed. I didn't ask for a fight. I asked for truth. It's not even about the ex anymore. It's about how he flipped out when I calmly said something didn't add up, and how he's still trying to downplay the whole thing instead of taking real accountability. I don't know if I want to stay with someone who reacts like that when I need honesty and safety. If I can't even ask a question without being punished emotionally, how can I ever feel secure? I needed to get this off my chest because my brain is spinning and I still feel like I'm trying to convince myself it wasn't as bad as it felt. Edit. Update: I just found out he has been cheating on me. It all comes out in the end. Stories number 8. Aita for giving my friend first aid on a sensitive area. This happened the other day. I, 23M, was at a pool party at my best friend Greg's house. There was also a slip and slide set up and people were using it. My friend Amy used it and screamed. The whole party turns to her and she's clutching her breast and there's blood just pouring out of her hand. She had slid over a rock and cut herself. I'm in nursing school, so I run over to her and ask to see the cut. She pulls her hand away and I see that it doesn't look too serious, but it definitely needs attention. I turn to Greg and ask him if he has a first aid kit and he says yes, in the bathroom inside the house. So I walk Amy into the house and grab the first aid kit. I pause for a second and ask her if she's okay with me helping her with this or if she wants to do it herself because of where the cut is, and she says, "No, I trust you and I want your help." So we go into the bathroom and wash out the cut. I look at it more closely to make sure it isn't serious. I put some Neosporin on it and bandage it up nicely. Amy thanks me and we go back outside. A couple women come up to Amy and ask if she's okay, and one of them, Sarah, gives me a dirty look and they kinda lead her away. I go back to where I was sitting and Greg sits next to me and says, "Some people were talking shit out here. I did my best to defend you, but I figured you should know that they were talking shit about you helping Amy." I asked him what he meant and he said that Sarah was saying it was creepy how I sprung into action when I saw an opportunity to play with a boob, and a few of the other women and one guy agreed and were making fun of me. I was pretty upset about that, but I didn't want to make a scene, so I just ignored it for the time being. Later that day though, I was sitting by the fire pit and Sarah was sitting across from me and nobody else was around the area, so I asked her why she was making fun of me for helping Amy. She said, "I guess that was a little mean of me. I'm sorry that I did that. But I just thought it was kinda weird how you saw her boob was hurt and you ran up to her and insisted to help. I know you're in nursing school, but I think you should have let a girl handle it. We all know first aid too." I thanked her for her apology and I don't like confrontation, so I just said, "Alright, I guess I'll keep that in mind from now on." Edit. I stepped away to go to work and this post blew up. Thank you all for your judgments. I think I did the right thing by helping her in this situation, and Sarah was really kind of a bitch here. Also, I realized that Amy might not know that they were talking shit about me, so I'm going to call or text her and inform her about all this. Update. I called Amy. Asked her how the cut was healing. She said it was healing well and she was keeping an eye on it. Then I asked her if she knew about the things Sarah and the others said about me and what Sarah said at the fire pit. Amy had no idea. She said the other women were asking her if she was okay and what happened and all that, but she assumed they were worried about the injury, not my helping her. And Amy was absolutely pissed and went to the friend group chat and tore the people that were shit talking a new asshole, especially Sarah. Sarah and the others apologized to me in the group chat, but Amy kept going and said I shouldn't accept their apologies because they sat back and talked shit on the one person who stepped up and helped her. Amy also asked Greg not to invite Sarah to the next pool party and Greg readily agreed. A few of the others tried to say that was too far, but Amy just told them to shut the fuck up and do something next time someone's hurt instead of sitting on their ass and insulting me. Update. Aita for giving my friend first aid on a sensitive area. Greg followed through on not inviting Sarah to the next party. She was upset about it but accepted it. Then 2 days after that party she called me and asked if we could meet in person and talk. I said okay and we met at a Starbucks. She looked really sad and apologized to me profusely. She said that she doesn't know why she said those things about me. She thinks she was ashamed of being frozen in fear when Amy got hurt and she just took out that shame on me by insulting me. But that it was incredibly fucked up to do because accusations like the ones she threw at me, even if they were jokes, could ruin my entire career, and it was so wrong of her to do that just because she was ashamed of herself. She seemed genuinely remorseful, so I forgave her and we are friends again. I told her I would talk to Greg about letting her back into the parties, but she said not to. What she did was super fucked, and she doesn't want to come back until Amy forgives her too. I said okay. We hugged and I went on my merry way. A couple of days after that I'm hanging out with Amy at my house and we talk about the Sarah situation. I showed Amy the previous post and asked her if we should show the others. She said yeah. So I showed everyone including Sarah and she was a little upset at first but quickly accepted it. Amy forgave Sarah a few days after that and she was invited to the 4th of July party 2 days ago, on the 3rd, and we had a great time. Sarah was a little awkward at first at this party but quickly cheered up once we assured her that the drama was behind us and we accepted her apology and quickly moved on to joking about it. Including Sarah pretending to slice open her boob with the dull side of a butter knife, saying, "Hark! Mine tender breast. It doth been sliced open like a ripe melon. Whomst ever will save me," ripping off her bikini top and leaping into my lap. Which, to be really honest here, firmly put the issue to bed because everyone at the party was laughing for a good hour about that. So yeah, everything worked out in the end really. I just wanted to put a cork in this story because when I saw it I realized how much people enjoyed it and thought it would be prudent to let people know that it had a definitive ending. Stories number 9. Aita for putting my pre-marriage house in trust, so my children get it if something happens to me. I am 28F and recently married. My husband parents has lots of property but most in his parents' name and trusts that it won't be counted as his marital asset including the house we live in. And if something happens to their son, it will go to his children only. Which is fine. We don't have much joint assets as we are recently married. I also inherited a house from my grandmother and it is pre-marriage property. It is in prime location and many businesses offered me a buyout. But I refused. I moved that house to a trust, that irrespective of marriage or any other things, my future children will have equal access to that house and it will be theirs, in case something happens to me. I also plan to make it rental property, considering I get huge amount per room for wholesale shops. Who needs it to keep their materials? The rent will be that huge, that I won't need to work at all. Though I plan to keep rent and working and save all rental income, my husband is not happy and complained to his dad, who tried to question me. I felt it was hypocritical and I told them, I respect and understand their choice of keeping pre-marriage properties in trust and it is my property too pre-marriage. So I did same. They said it's not same and I am part of family. Their son's properties would be accessible to me. I called out their BS. And said only joint assets, which we will buy post-marriage, will have the same access to both. I also want to keep my children safe and secure in case something happens to me. They are angry and my husband is with puffed face. But I refuse to back down. He is sleeping in other room. Such a man-child. He said it's not same as it is his parents' properties. But this house is mine and we are partners. I said I will not change the trust conditions. We are sleeping in different rooms now. I feel like but I feel it's fair. Note in our culture daughter-in-laws are provided stability and safety net. Which they didn't so they can't expect me to give away my things to family too. Stories number 10. My husband abandoned me and our 2 children. I, 31F, have been married to my husband, 31M, since 2017. We started dating in 2012. We have 2 children, 4F and 6 weeks F. I don't even know how to begin describing this because I'm at a loss. This morning I woke up to my 4-year-old daughter asking me where daddy was. I was confused because he wakes up, makes her breakfast and takes over baby care since I am newly pages. It was 10 a.m. and she said he wasn't there. She had been waiting in her room for him to take her downstairs for their normal routine. She waited until she was too hungry to wait more time and then came to our room to wake me up. I got up out of bed and I started looking around upstairs. He wasn't in the house. When I opened up the bathroom door in our room, that's when I started noticing something was really wrong. All his stuff from our bathroom was gone. I opened up the closet, his clothes were all gone. At this point I'm freaking out. I go downstairs and see our front door was left open and our cat is no longer in the house. He took our car as well. I started calling him but every call went to voicemail. I was openly crying at this point and my daughter was becoming upset. The baby was in my arms as well. I didn't want to freak out my daughter any more than I already had so I told her that everything was okay and I'd make her breakfast. After setting my daughter up, I started going through the house. He took all his clothes and gaming consoles, computers. All of it is gone. He took the only car we have. This was not the worst of it. I checked our bank account. He drained the account and left $17 in it. I have no idea what to do. I have no family. I tried calling his mother and she cussed me out and blocked me. He has no siblings and his dad died so it's really just his mom. I have no idea what to do. His mom has never liked me because she felt I was taking away her son. I was extremely LC with her before this point, so I don't know what I really expected from her. I am at a loss because I just has a C-section and he knows how much that has destroyed me. I am a stay-at-home mom, I am completely dependent on my husband. I was not intending to be one, but because we live in a remote area and we have no family here, we decided this would be best, and he makes a very good salary to support us with a lot left over. How could he just leave us like this? What can I do in this situation? I put in a call to our vet about the cat, so I'm hoping I can resolve at least that aspect soon. I'm just so scared and confused about where to go from here. I don't know how I'm going to pay bills or feed my daughter a week from now. Please help me understand my options. This has honestly brought on some very dark thoughts and I have no one to turn to. Edit. Thank you so much to everyone who has offered advice. From the advice about my cat, food, the house, lawyers, resources. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, Reddit family. I've taken all of it. To the people who have reached out offering money, I appreciate you so much, but I will find a way. I'm a strong woman. Please donate to a local shelter, if you feel so inclined instead. There are so many men and women who need it more than I do. I will hold it together for my girls and I will find my cat. The support I've gotten here has truly strengthened me. Stories number 11. I stood in my partner's best friend's wedding, and his wife made me wear a wig. My partner Joe, 24M, and I, 24F, have been together for 8 years and married for just under a month, yay. Jay's best friend Seth, 23M, and I have known each other since before Joe and I met. About a year and a half after Joe and I started dating, Seth started seeing Mia, 23F, and the double dates commenced. I've never been a huge fan of Mia since she's the type of person to eat 3/4 of her meal at a restaurant then complain to the waitstaff until they comped the meal, among other things. In the summer of 2021, Seth bought a house for himself and Mia that needed a lot of work due to prior flooding. My partner and I went out there, and Joe and Seth did some work on the plumbing and subfloor. A few other times Joe went out there to help with other stuff, and by the end of 2021 Seth had the place renovated into a pretty nice house. He and Mia invited us and some of our friends from the friend group out there for a New Year's party. They have a pretty nice detached garage/pole barn situation, so they got it set up with beer pong and speakers and stuff, meaning people were going back and forth from the pole barn to the house. At one point it was just Seth and I in the house mixing drinks, and he confided in me that he wasn't entirely happy in his relationship. He talked about how Mia called him names, laughed at him, yelled at him, etc. and asked what he should do. I said what my partner would have said: we have a spare bedroom if you need it. Every time we went out to Seth and Mia's house, Seth would find a way to confide these things in me. They gradually got worse, too. She threw stuff at him, slammed doors so hard they'd break off their hinges, stuff like that. Every time I'd remind him we had a spare bedroom, but I couldn't outright tell him to leave her. It didn't feel like my place to make that call. Don't get me wrong, I definitely told him he deserved better, but I wanted him to connect the dots for himself. In October 2022, while at a Halloween party, Seth showed me a picture of the engagement ring he'd gotten. I don't remember much of the conversation beyond him asking if his proposal plan sounded good. I told him yes, I congratulated him, I did all the things I thought a friend should do. A month later, there are beautiful photos all over Facebook announcing the engagement, and announcing that the wedding date was set for October 2023. In February 2023 Mia asked me to stand as a bridesmaid in her wedding, and I genuinely was shocked. We didn't talk much, even at their house parties. My partner, of course, was asked to be the best man, and he instantly accepted. I didn't know what to say. They'd asked us in front of the rest of the wedding party, and I hadn't been expecting it at all, so I accepted, too. It made me nervous thinking about it, but if that's what they wanted, then I was going to do my damnedest to make this wedding work for them. Despite everything Seth had told me, it wasn't my place to cause a scene about it. In March, Mia asked me to make sure my hair was a normal color for their wedding. It's worth mentioning that at the time my hair was a light lavenderish color, and I'm no stranger to impulsively dyeing my hair a vibrant color. I told her I'd of course make sure it was a normal color, but she'd have to tell me what color. In honesty, because my hair is always a different color, the request didn't bother me much beyond lamenting having to grow out whatever color she told me to go. Shit really started to hit the fan in August on the bachelorette weekend trip. The drive up was about 2 hours, and Mia spent most of it telling us about the latest wedding drama, that her parents had decided to take all of the money they'd been setting aside for a wedding venue and use it to refurbish their pole barn. Mia's parents were demanding that Mia and Seth work long hours pouring concrete, putting up walls, and retiling roofs, so the wedding could be held there. Mia talked about how her mother had been especially rude and condescending about the whole thing, calling her an ungrateful bitch when Mia talked about wanting the wedding to be somewhere else. I felt so bad for her, and I felt even worse when Mia's mother, along with 8 of her friends, crashed the bachelorette weekend. We were outnumbered in this Airbnb to the point that I had to sleep on the floor. There were 9 women, all 50 or older, impeding on Mia's bachelorette weekend and drunk the entire weekend, throwing up into the lake off the paddleboat. They crammed all 9 of themselves onto kind of way star. Mia had been looking forward to one of those lazy river situations where you rent a bunch of inner tubes and coast down a river and all that. The morning of, though, these women decided it should be put to a vote whether they went, no doubt because some of them were still drunk and some were hungover, and the overall consensus was to skip the tubing that all of the bridesmaids had already paid for and instead hang out at the Airbnb. I grabbed a few pre-rolls from my luggage, took Mia by the arm, and sat out on the front porch with her. We shot the shit about everything, not just the awful turnout of the Bach party, but everything else. I felt like we really connected out there, talking about our partners and their friendship and what it would be like when we had kids and they'd have an extra aunt and uncle. For a long time, I thought Seth and Mia would be the godparents to my husband and my kids. A month before the wedding, Mia called an emergency bridal party meeting at their house. Per usual, my partner and I were the first ones there. Once the rest of the bridal party got there, minus Seth's little sister, she was left out of the bachelorette party trip too. We talked about the schedule of the day and how the bridal party would make entrances to the venue. At one point, Mia, who was quite drunk by then, pulled me aside and reminded me about the hair color. My hair at the time was split-dyed red and pink. I asked her what color she wanted me to go, and she said, "Copper would look so good on you." About a week and a half before the wedding, I went out and got a brownish copper hair dye and did the job. Since I colored my hair pretty frequently, it wasn't the healthiest, and I tried my best to do hair masks and stuff to make sure it wasn't too brittle for styling on the day of the wedding. Then, a week before the wedding, my partner proposed to me. I, of course, posted pictures all over Facebook, and my hair in the pictures was copper. The Tuesday before the wedding, Mia texted me and asked if the color of my hair in those photos was how it would be for her wedding day. I said yes and reminded her that I'd asked her what color to do, and she had told me copper. She denied ever telling me that, and that she would never have suggested copper, since my dress was cinnamon colored. She told me to send her a picture of myself wearing the dress so she could see if the colors clashed too badly. Before I could even send a photo of myself in the dress, she told me to just dye my hair an actual normal color. This turned into a massive back and forth of me telling her that I didn't have the money or time to go out and get my hair redone, and I was afraid if I dyed my hair again so soon it'd break off and be even more awful. I offered to step out of frame for her pictures. I offered to have my hair up so it wasn't touching the dress. I offered to suggest to her photographer that they color correct my hair. Her mind was made up, though. She told me she'd have me wear a wig for the entire day. I told her I certainly couldn't afford a high-quality wig, and she told me she'd pay for it. The entire bridal party had gotten a text from Seth and Mia requesting all of us be at the venue, about an hour and 45-minute drive, at noon the Friday before the wedding to help do final touches before the rehearsal dinner at 5. Of the entire bridal party, my partner and I were the only ones who showed up at noon. Everyone else didn't show until 5 or later. We went up to Seth to greet him, and the first thing he said to us was, "Is it too late to call it off?" And in proper supportive friend fashion, we told him, no, reminded him of our spare bedroom. I'd had a nightmare the night before of the maid of honor beating the shit out of me when she saw my hair, so when she finally showed around 5:30 and came right up to me, I nearly pissed myself. She held out her hand and pointed to her ring finger. It dawned on me that I had, indeed, gotten engaged a few days prior, easy to forget, given all the other stuff going on, and I held out my hand so she could see the ring. She gushed about how beautiful it was, and she told me she needed to talk to me outside after the rehearsal. Fair enough. I confided in her when we stepped outside that I was terrified she wanted to beat me up, and she told me the whole story of the texts, how she had told Mia not to send them and to let her handle it, how her work friends had read all the screenshots Mia sent and thought she was taking things way too far, etc. We talked for a long time, and at the end of it she said she'd check with Mia on where the wig situation stood. Before the end of the night, she pulled me aside again and confirmed that Mia wanted me to wear the wig the entire night and that she wouldn't settle for an updo or anything of the sort. The MOH then invited me to spend the night with the rest of the bridesmaids at Mia's house, which I politely declined. I was expected at a salon about an hour from my house the next morning at 8 a.m., and I arrived at 7:45 just to be safe. The rest of the bridesmaids, along with the bride, all showed up shortly thereafter. The salon is owned by one of M's mom's cousins, who also happened to be at the bachelorette weekend. She was one of the dumbass puking off the side of the paddleboat. She got me in a chair before I had even set my bag down, and by 8 a.m., I had the most hideous wig slapped onto my head. She didn't even style it, didn't even bobby pin it down. It took 10 minutes, max. The other bridesmaids got their hair styled in super cute curls and waterfall braids, and I sat there with an unstyled, unflattering wig on my head that wasn't even properly covering my hairline. We got our makeup done at the salon, too, by a different lady. When I sat down in the chair she asked me if I was okay, because nobody was speaking to me. I asked her if the makeup was waterproof or anything, and she told me to just try my best not to cry. She ended up doing my makeup pretty quickly, too, and in all I spent maybe a half hour in a salon chair. The other bridesmaids had way more time for hair and makeup, and between the way the wig looked and the fact that none of them would even look at me, I excused myself to go out to my car. I have never cried the way I did in that car. I called Joe, who was riding with the groomsman I was going to walk down the aisle with. I tipped my head down so the tears wouldn't leave tracks in my foundation. I scream-cried that I wanted to go home and that I couldn't keep doing this. I told him how I felt like I was back in middle school and high school being bullied, all because I did what the bride told me to do. I dyed my hair the color she told me to dye it. He reminded me that I wasn't standing in the wedding for Mia, but for Seth. I told him I couldn't even do it for Seth, because S knew about the situation, Joe had talked to him about it, and wasn't willing to stand up for me. Which, I'm not saying I expected him to stand up to his soon-to-be wife for another woman, but it doesn't change the fact that I couldn't handle the pressure and the bullying. Joe told me then that I should do it for him, and that after this we'd figure it out. After the ceremony, Al, the groomsman I had walked with, caught me crying. We were all supposed to be taking photos, and I couldn't stop thinking about how these people were supposed to be the godparents to our future kids, and they couldn't even stand to have me in the photos without a wig on my head. I went into the house and came out with one of those little pocket-sized shooters of Pink Whitney for me. After dinner, I slipped out to go to the bathroom, i.e. cry a bit more and call my mom. My mom told me to take the wig off and get a ride home, and that it wasn't worth it. I told her Mia was making me keep it on the entire night. Before she could really convince me to get the hell out of there, Joe tracked me down. He didn't know what to say, he just held me for a while, then told me I had to come back because they were starting speeches. Shortly after the dancing really got going and the sun had fully set, Al started asking me if it had hurt if he yanked the wig off. I told him they hadn't even bothered to pin the damn thing down. I told him not to, because I didn't want to face the wrath of Mia. He asked me if I would rather spend the rest of the night miserable, and I shrugged a shoulder and told him to do whatever he wanted. He yanked the wig off and tossed it on one of the empty tables, then told me, if Seth or Mia have any shit to say, you tell them to come say it to me. A few of the wedding guests even came up to me and said that my hair, despite being braided tightly to my head for the wig to lay on top, looked much better like this. In the days following the wedding, Mia started sharing photos to Facebook, but none of them had me in them. I couldn't tell if I was more relieved to not have to see the palpable misery on my face, or furious that she had me put on a wig just to exclude my face from all the posts anyway. I fell into this horrible despair. I thought I'd be relieved to be done, but instead I was left with this gaping feeling. My partner and I had just stood for his best friend, and my close friend, on the most important day of his life, and we had nothing to show for it. There would be no showing our kids photos from Aunt Mia and Uncle Seth's wedding day, because that wasn't me in the photos. And even if it was, they didn't bother to send us any photos from the day at any point. 2 weeks after Seth and Mia's wedding, we were hosting a Halloween party, partly as a gift to the newlyweds, and partly because they usually hosted Halloween, and we wanted to give them a break. They said they would come, but the night before the party they cancelled on us. As frustrated as I was to be throwing this party for them only for them to cancel, I can't say I wasn't a little relieved. I didn't know how to talk to either of them after that day, and I didn't want to be forced to figure it out quite yet. The beginning of November, a month and a half after the wedding day, Joe sent Seth and Mia a message in a group chat without me in it. The message reiterated that they are always welcome at our house. We were hosting Friendsgiving at the end of November and had extended the invitation to them, but that we were both incredibly hurt by what went down with the wedding. Joe requested an apology for the hurt I was put through, especially after Mia told me to dye my hair copper, then tried to tell me she never would have said that. Mia responded that I was just mad because I didn't get what I wanted, that we were asinine if we thought she'd see my ugly-ass hair and do anything other than throw a wig on my head, that she wouldn't apologize for something she's not sorry for. The following day, Seth called Joe to apologize. Apparently he told Mia not to send the message. He told Joe that he thought I also owed Mia an apology for taking the wig off at all. During that phone call, Seth said something along the lines of being done with the friend group, that he only wanted to hang out with Joe, over all of it. The friend group, who already didn't have the best impression of Mia even before all the shit went down, was unanimously fine with that decision. The day after Seth and Joe's call, Mia sent me a one-on-one message, novel, about how she would have dyed her hair whatever color I wanted for my wedding, because there are temporary colors, and it'd fade eventually. She also accused me of not knowing her well enough to be saying what I was about her mother back during the bachelorette trip, that I was being stuck up, and so on and so forth. I typed up a similar length response, and I'm proud to say I kept it civil. I reminded her that I did dye my hair the exact color she wanted, that I just refused to do it a second time in fear of frying my hair or making it look worse. I apologized for what I'd said about her mother, but I also told her that if I didn't know her well enough to talk honestly with her about something that was deeply troubling her, I never should have been standing in the wedding in the first place. I told her that if I was stuck up, I would have taken myself home instead of still standing in the wedding party, despite everything she put me through. It took 2 days for Mia to respond, and she replied with, after processing, "I feel like I owe you an apology." End of message. We expected to see them at Friendsgiving and try to smooth things over in person, but Seth texted Joe a literal hour before they were supposed to arrive and said that Mia wanted to go look at Christmas lights in a city almost 2 hours away. Joe was faced with the impossible decision as we grew closer to planning our own wedding of whether Seth could be his best man. Ultimately, Seth made the decision for him by blocking me on Facebook and removing me from his contacts on everything. For a long time, that was it. Seth and Mia were strangers to us. We didn't even invite them to our wedding. The reason I hashed this all out now, though, is that I'm left with an impossible situation, and I need help. In March of this year, about 2 months before Joe and my wedding, Seth called Joe while Joe was at work and asked what had happened to them. Joe asked if he was joking, and when he realized Seth wasn't, he laid it all out, the wig, the non-apology, the name-calling, all of it. Apparently Seth and Mia don't have anyone to hang out with anymore, mostly due to the way they treated me. Seth must have taken notes during this phone call or something, because a day or so later, Seth sent Joe a long apology for me. Apparently Mia had written the apology that I needed over a year and a half ago, gave it to Seth, and Seth gave it to Joe. Joe had been looking for the right time to tell me about it. He said it sounds sort of legit, but he also admitted that it sounds like Seth had written it himself. All of this is with the intention of Seth and Joe hanging out together, which, let me be clear, I never prevented. I encouraged Joe to keep up with Seth, I just didn't want anything to do with him. The moment Mia had that wig put on my head, it's like she and Seth became strangers to me, so that's why I'm here. I haven't read the apology, and my partner said he wouldn't blame me if I never wanted to read it. Even typing this all out is reminding me the kind of emotional turmoil they put me through over this. What's the play? Do I read the apology? It sounds like Seth and Mia want to go back to double dating and house parties like before. Is that a possibility? I genuinely don't think I could ever look either one of them in the eye again, but do I owe it to them to my partner to try? TLDR, my husband's best friend's wife asked me to stand in her wedding, told me to dye my hair, didn't like the color and put a wig on me, told me she wouldn't apologize for something she's not sorry for, and she and her husband are lonely 1.5 years later and want to rekindle our friendship. Added comments. Commenter, this is on you. They didn't make you do anything. You could have said no at any point. Life is too short to be a doormat. Reply, definitely agree, and hindsight is 20/20ths. It was the first wedding I stood in as a bridesmaid, so I was at a real and true loss of how far I was supposed to go. Update, I, 24F, posted a few days ago about my husband Joe's, 24M, best friend Seth's, 23M, wedding. Here's the link to the original post, but the TLDR is that Seth's wife Mia, 23F, asked me to stand as a bridesmaid in their wedding, told me to dye my hair copper, told me after the fact that she never would have said to go copper, made me wear an unstyled wig the entire day, called me crazy and told my husband she wasn't sorry, and now over 1.5 years later is trying to apologize via a letter to my husband to give to me. Update. I told my husband I'm not going to read the letter. The apology is a year and a half late, and as far as I'm concerned, it's a load of bullshit intended to get back to being friends with him. If they truly cared about me in this situation, they'd never have called me crazy. They'd have apologized the minute I expressed how hurt I was. They wouldn't have done what they did in the first place. Joe is a huge believer in giving people room to grow and learn from mistakes, which is why he told me about the letter in the first place and not just burned it himself. After our talk, he realizes what kind of damage it would do to me to let Seth and Mia back into our lives, even if they have grown and changed. I don't need to be their human empathy test subject. I truly hope they've become better people, but given they're reaching back out because nobody else will be friends with them, I doubt they truly have. As for the comments, I had a lot of people asserting that the outcome of this is entirely my fault, and that I let myself be walked all over so I deserved everything that came to me. While I don't entirely disagree, I do think that even in my long-ass post there's a lot of context missing. To start, Joe and Seth had been best friends for over 10 years at this point. If I caused a scene at Seth's wedding, even warranted, I feared what it would do to their friendship. The friendship basically ended either way thanks to Seth's wife, but I digress. I wore the wig because I didn't want to rock the boat. I was young and naive and didn't actually think Mia would make me wear a wig until the morning of, when they were slapping a wig on my head and shooing me out of the salon chair. I'd heard from Mia firsthand how much stress she was under due to the wedding and her insane mother, and I thought being a sounding board for her and being there for her would have made her have a change of heart. Instead I became the target. She couldn't very well bully her mother, so she bullied me instead. There were also a lot of people calling me out about Seth pulling me aside and telling me how unhappy he was, and again I think you're missing key context. I didn't just tell him, "We have a spare bedroom for you," and leave it at that. I talked at length with him about these things. I told him that he deserved better, that he could come stay with us for as long as he needed to figure things out, that no matter how deep the hole he dug himself felt, we were there to get him out of it. He had a house and pets with Mia. He worked with Mia's dad. She had successfully made herself a part of every piece of his life, and in our conversations, I told Seth that Joe and I could help him detach however he needed. I even told him he was being abused, especially when it came to things being thrown and doors being slammed, but Seth is of the mindset that men can never be the victims of domestic violence. I wonder if that mindset has changed by now. Point is, I said everything but outright telling him to leave Mia. Maybe that's what the comments were getting at, is that I should have spelled it out like that. The day before the wedding, Seth asked if it was too late, and Joe and I told him no. We told him he could get in the car and we could drive away with no questions asked. Seth is a grown adult too, he chose what he did. Lots of people were coming after my husband, as well, and I can't lie, Seth and Mia's wedding definitely did some damage to our relationship. I left that situation feeling like no matter how many times Joe told me I was the most important person in his life, there would always be something, or someone, that could get in the way of that. Things were rocky for a bit. He was apologetic the moment the wedding was over, wishing he'd taken the wig off my head or gone to the salon and picked me up and taken me home. Hindsight is 20/20, I guess. If either of us had known that no matter what, Seth and Mia were going to completely isolate themselves, I wouldn't have worried so much about preserving Joe and Seth's friendship, and neither would he. At the end of it, though, Joe and I have talked it through. We know where our priorities lie. The only reason he'd been advocating for me to read the apology letter was for my own peace of mind and my own closure. He respects my decision to leave the note unread and leave Seth and Mia to be unhappily ever after. TLDR, Seth and Mia are complete strangers to me. I won't be reading the apology letter, and I won't be dedicating any more of myself to thinking about it. Thank you to everyone who commented on the original post. Sometimes tough love is necessary. Stories number 12. How could my 34F boyfriend, 32M, go from so loving to heartless so quickly? My now ex-BF, 32M, and I, 34F, was the most loving man I'd ever met. We were best friends, inseparable, always talking, texting, or together. We told each other everything. I lived with him 5 to 7 days a week but kept my rental because our relationship is still young. He had wanted me to move in and I had the majority of my belongings at his house including appliances, food, clothing, etc. This morning was just like every day. Amazing, loving and fun with the person I thought was the love of my life. We had breakfast, hung out, then we were going to the store. He needed to go to a few stores and the bank in another city and to meet someone. He said he wanted me to drive. I asked for the address and he refused to give it to me. He said he'd tell me how to get there. I asked what the exit was. He refused to give it to me with an attitude. I had to ask him around 20 times to please give me the exit so I knew where to get off. He finally tells me but he was irritated with me. As we're driving over he makes a snooty comment inferring that I knew where I was. He then begins to argue that we had passed that intersection a few weeks ago. I said that doesn't matter, I don't know where we are going now and he was the one driving. He starts yelling at me that I know where to go. Then he's watching YouTube videos the whole time so he's not giving directions, but told me to turn right, so I turn right and he starts yelling at me that it's the next right. He tells me it's fine, just drive through the parking lot and cross the street. I yell no, that it's not okay that he's being a jerk to me. He cuts me off and says it's not a big deal. I say it is to me that you keep talking to me like this. He says he's not yelling or cussing at me. I said that's not the issue, it's how you talk to me like I'm stupid when I already told you I don't know where I'm going. He kept cutting me off to say it's not a big deal. I park the car and get out. I yell he could drive himself and I began walking home. I left him the car keys and house keys. Eventually he drove back but when I opened the door I saw my cat. I asked why my cat was there. Then I saw my belongings packed in the car. He said our relationship was over because I was disrespectful to him. He said he had nothing to be sorry about and that I should apologize to him. I said I was not going to apologize for getting upset that he keeps being rude and could have just given me directions from the beginning. I said this was the 4th time he's done this where he makes any drive the treats me like crap while driving to a new place in cities I'm not familiar. He said I was too sensitive and literal. He kept trying to argue the whole time that he did nothing wrong while I kept telling him to stop talking to me, until I got to the point I screamed to shut the duck up. I said I wanted to go to the house to get the rest of my things. I grabbed my keys to open the door and he had already taken my key off my ring. He opened the door and I began packing the rest of my belongings. He immediately began watching Instagram videos and laughing, playing music like our relationship and I was nothing. He said he was also taking the car he gave me back immediately. He had told me when he gave it to me, even if we broke up, that was my car. He came over to say this isn't what he wanted to happen. I said, yes it is, you're the one who broke up with me, packed my things, and are kicking me out. It was your choice. He kept trying to argue with me, saying I was being sensitive over directions. I kept saying that's not what this is about and to leave me alone. We dropped my things off and he took my car key. He kept asking dumb questions and I eventually yelled at him. He said I have anger issues and left. I was so devastated that he would treat me like this, break up with me, take my car, now with no way to get to work, and I just paid the registration and maintenance. How could a guy go from loving me so much to just dumping me and acting like I was nothing so quickly? Stories number 13. My MIL landscaped our entire garden while dog sitting for a week. What do I do? My husband, 35M, and I, 29F, went on holiday for a week and just got back tonight. My in-laws stayed at our house and looked after our dog for us while we were away. We got back tonight to find that MIL has completely changed our garden without our consent while we've been gone. We have a smallish paved garden with some raised flower beds, a couple of trees and some nice flowers and bushes. Most were left by previous owners and we've cared for them the best we can, weeded, laid wood chip and kept the garden tidy. While we've been away, an entire tree on the right-hand side has been removed and is now just a stump, with new shrubs and flowers planted in its place. My roses, which I enjoyed caring for, have been cut to a stump with nothing left, the trellis completely bare. The 2 other trees have been cut back dramatically, all their flowers and buds are gone, the huge flowers on one bush have been cut off, and the garden feels very exposed and barren. The tree that was cut to a stump flowered beautifully in summer and attracted lots of butterflies, and I'm big on biodiversity so that was so sad, and the roses I'm devastated about as my uncle was helping me care for them. Various other jobs have been done like cutting a small patch of grass we have at the back, and jet washing the paving slabs, which I'm grateful for. It's important to note, nothing like this was discussed before we left, we only asked MIL and FIL to care for our dog, nothing more. MIL mentioned patching some missing sealant on the windows of our shed for us, that was all. I really struggle with anxiety and needing to be in control and I've been sobbing this evening, I'm devastated. MIL is asleep and FIL is staying out of it, I'm sleeping downstairs with our dog because I can't stand to be away from her either. It's 3 a.m. but I can't sleep. What do I do? Am I right to be upset? I'm certain their intentions were good, but I feel like this is an enormous overstep and I'm really upset. Update, my MIL landscaped our garden while dog sitting for a week. To answer some questions, I think the tree was a buddleia which I think is usually a bush but it was quite mature and had a trunk about 8 inches wide and was around 2/3 meters tall and very much looked like a tree. Sorry if I gave the impression it was like a huge tree that required a tree surgeon but it wasn't a tiny bush either, it was still a task to chop it down, and they didn't hire anyone, they did it themselves. Thank you for all the suggestions about tree law, I've learned something new. Thank you to all that said the roses might be salvageable, they are literally a stump only 3 inches tall but I'll try the blood and bone mixture to promote growth and try to bring them back. MIL has done things like this before but not to this extreme, she gets bored and one thing leads to another and you can tell part of her knows she's gone too far but she tries to justify it anyway. It's well known in the family that MIL can't sit still and finds jobs to do to be helpful, but to my knowledge she hasn't done anything this big before. Now for the update. In the morning my husband spoke to MIL alone and laid out how this was really inappropriate for her to make changes to our garden without permission or even notification. He said she offered some explanations as to why she did it, but did acknowledge it wasn't right to go ahead and cut down trees without asking. He posed the question many of you suggested of how would she feel if we looked after her home and repainted a room, or chopped a tree down in her garden, or removed a fence. I think that made her realize. He asked her to speak to me directly and apologize as I said to him I needed an apology and for her to acknowledge that what she did was wrong. Later MIL spoke to me privately and said she was sorry I was so upset by the garden and I said thank you. Her explanation for the tree is that she was doing some pruning, didn't ask her to but anyway, and when she trimmed the branches they were black inside. They went to a garden center and got advice and were told it was this kind of bug infestation. Mil is adamant she was being bitten by whatever bug it is as well. I don't know, the tree was green and healthy looking to me. Anyway, at no point did they speak to us despite going to all this trouble, then they decided to just chop it down since it was infested. She did at least say the words, "I know we should have called you or asked." Then I said, "And the roses?" I loved those and my uncle was helping me keep them going, and she said the dog had been chewing on them. Bear in mind these are in a raised bed she'd have to jump up at to get to, and apparently she yelped and hurt herself on the thorns. So obviously the logical conclusion isn't to keep an eye on the puppy, a 4-month-old lab, but to chop down the flowering roses. That was the end of that discussion, but later in the day she and Phil went to a garden center to try to replace both the buddleia and the roses but couldn't find the right kind. They have said that if we find the plants we want they will buy them for us so we can replace them. Things are civil again. I'm still hurt and I hate how my garden looks, especially since other trees and flowering bushes were cut so far back all the color is gone. It feels very exposed and like a new build/showroom garden before any character is added, but I can't make the plants regrow and replanting the tree would mean removing the stump they left so I CBA. Personally I will never allow Mil and Phil to be alone in my house again, and they will not be asked to look after our dog unless it's at their own home. I do have a generally good relationship with both Mil and Phil and they are generous and kind people, but this lack of respecting boundaries has been an ongoing issue especially since we got our house, which they did a huge amount of work on with us and for which I'm extremely grateful. I do however feel like this contributes to how they view the house and garden as a project and not as our home despite the fact we have lived in a finished house for 2 years now, and might be why they thought it was no big deal to go around messing with our garden. My husband has been on my side throughout this and took us all, me, him and the dog, out for a Sunday roast today to cheer us up. He's upset with his parents as well and has done his best to make me feel better and validate my feelings. He's the best. Stories number 14. Aita for refusing to allow my stepdaughter to use one of my cars and telling her to get a job and buy one instead. My husband and I have a 5-year-old son together and he has a 18F daughter Sally from his previous marriage. Sally is an entitled, manipulative young lady who has spent her entire life milking the child of divorce card in order to make her parents feel bad for her and give her everything she wanted. As a result, she is now a lazy adult, has poor grades in school, no perspective, no job, no desire to get a job or do something with her life. Although my husband and her bio mom are both responsible for how she turned out, instead of coming together and work towards helping her do something, they prefer to blame each other and they do everything they can to undermine the other one. For example, if my husband punishes Sally by not giving her spending money, her mom will immediately throw money at her. If her mom takes her car away as a punishment, my husband will immediately give her his car to use to go places. It's a very strange dynamic they have and very different of what he has with me. When I asked him why he is so different in terms of parenting my son with me versus Sally with her bio mom, he said I am his wife and I am a normal, sane woman who he can actually communicate with. Whatever, I feel like they are both wrong but Sally is not my daughter and I am happy I don't have to spend too much time with her. Now that the summer break started Sally has the most important problem in the world. Her car broke and she needs one to use this summer to go places, meet her friends, go to parties etc. Her mom is not willing to give her car because she needs it to go to work, my husband needs his car to go to work and neither of them is willing to buy her a new one. So Sally the genius found the perfect solution and asked me to give her one of my cars. To be clear I have 2 cars, a big SUV that was given to me by my employer and a smaller one that I use when I go into town because it's easier to park. I refused and I told her she can't use any of my car. She insisted and said I don't need 2 cars at the same time but she needs one to get around. I told her she is free to use the public transportation or get a job and buy one herself. Now Sally is going around to my husband's relatives complaining that I am trying to exploit her and send her to work. I had a good laugh about this with my husband's sister but my Mil claims I could have just refused instead of telling her to get a job. I am a little confused what it's so bad about telling an adult to get a job. It's not like I sent a 12-year-old to work for her food or anything. Update, Aita for refusing to allow my stepdaughter to use one of my cars and telling her to get a job and buy one. The majority of you advised me to hide my car's keys because Sally would most likely try to steal one of my cars when I am not home. You are not far from the truth because she oftentimes does this with her mother's car, meaning she will take the car when her mom is not home without asking her if she needs it later or ask for permission. So your advice makes a lot of sense. However, I refuse to do such thing in my own home. I believe if I end up in a position to have to hide my things in my own house, we'll have a bigger problem that needs to be solved. Also, where does this stop? Today I have to hide my car keys, later my money, later my purse. This is not the kind of life I want to have, and it never happened to me as a teenager young adult. When I used to live with my parents, I knew where everything was: car keys, money, documents, jewelry, etc., and I have never taken anything without asking. So after reading the comments from our /board 36090, thank you by the way, I had a good laugh, I decided to follow their advice but in a less dramatic way. I sat my husband and his daughter down to have a chat. I made it clear in front of my husband that Sally insisted she uses one of my cars and I do not agree with it. Then I told Sally that I know she sometimes takes her mother's car without asking and warned her not to dare do something with my cars when I am not home, because if she does, I will call the police and report the car stolen. She was shocked and asked me if I would stoop so low as to report her for stealing just for a car that I don't use or need anyways. I told her it's not me who would stoop so low, but her, because taking something that does not belong to you, especially after being told no, it's the clear definition of stealing, so yes, I won't report it. I think for the first time in her life she understood there will be consequences for her actions and she did not protest further. After this I asked her to clarify in front of my husband how is it that me suggesting she gets a job makes me a person who tries to exploit her, based on what she told my MIL and SIL. My husband had no idea about it and he just exploded. After hearing what happened he told her it's good that we hear what she talks behind our backs because he will give her even more reasons to complain. My husband told her she will not be seeing any money from him during this summer. Sally started crying and told him he can't do this, but husband told her he can and he will. His responsibility as her parent is to feed her, buy her clothes and help her pay for school items, but that's it. She is an adult and if she wants to party or see her friends she should start paying for it herself, since she never appreciated anything she was given. Apparently this is the hill my husband he is willing to die on, and he even told his ex-wife about his plans, making it clear that if she wants to support Sally's activities this summer she will have to do it alone because he will not contribute for anything that's not a necessity. So yeah, this is where we are at now. Sally stormed out of our house and of course went to her grandmother to complain. But I am waiting. If MIL opens any discussions about it with me I will make it clear she is free to support Sally as much as she wants, we are not stopping her. Stories number 15. Aita for grabbing my newborn baby from my SAL. I, 28F, had my son Kyson 4 months ago. At 22 weeks I was diagnosed with partial placenta previa and we were hoping and praying it would resolve, but at 28 weeks I was told I have complete placenta previa. This news hurt because I had a birth plan, but my doctor still closely monitored it even though he made it clear that there might be less chance of resolving it and might have a C-section. At 35 weeks I had heavy bleeding, so I delivered my beautiful baby boy through an emergency C-section. My son was in the NICU for 2 weeks before we got to go home. 2 weeks ago there was a family party at my MIL's house. I was sitting in the ladies when Kai started crying. So I breastfed him while chatting. Nobody had a problem with that. Then after that I handed him to my SAL since she wanted to play with him. While he was holding him she said something, so they started talking about my SIL's labor and she said it was a breeze. Then I said, "Ah, that's nice, I hope to have a natural with my second someday." Then she said, "A natural birth needs preparation during the whole pregnancy." Then she went on to say, "You never worked out or got active much." So I told her it was because of the placenta previa situation. This woman literally said, "That's not an excuse though, I had rowed ligament pain and I still managed to keep active." I told her I was kept on bed rest half my pregnancy and had too many hospital visits, so I didn't want to do anything to risk putting myself in danger. Then she said, "Your body can feel the nerves and it reads accordingly, you should have relaxed and let nature take its course. That's how natural births work, the C-section was avoidable." I told her to F herself and took my baby out her arms and went to my hubby. We left after. Apparently she told anyone who asked where I am got sensitive and left the party. After a few days she asked to see Kyson and I said I'm not comfortable being around her at the moment. She accused me of weaponizing my son and using him to hurt her. Note, whole pregnancy she kept on giving unsolicited advice on how to fix the placenta previa, and I feel like she thinks if I had listened to her I would have had Kyson naturally. I felt sad for a few weeks after birth cause my birth plan didn't go how I wanted it to. These feelings just feel like they resurfaced tbh. I thought I was okay. Aita for grabbing him and not agreeing to visit her. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, NTA. SIL can stay in her judgmental bubble by herself. I would have humiliated her at the party by asking why she thought she knew more than the doctors who gave you the advice. And ask her where she got her medical degree from, because you'd like to tell people to not attend that university since clearly their candidates are both ignorant and downright stupid with a capital S. Sanctimommies are the worst. Reply, she hates C-section births, formula, the likes. She's that type. Commenter 2, NTA, she sounds like an idiot. What part of bed rest did she not understand? I went through a placenta abruption, almost died and almost lost my baby. The first thing my doctor said to me once I was coherent enough to hear it was, "You did nothing wrong." If someone said to me what she said to you after what I went through, and in the same token, what you went through, I don't know if I could ever speak to them again. What she said was cruel, vile, and more importantly, completely false. Reply, so sorry about the placenta abruption, so glad you and baby are okay. It was so hurtful especially since she knows how I wanted to have a natural delivery. Commenter 3, NTA. Nobody's giving out medals for having natural births and people need to stop looking down on C-section births like it's a failing of some kind. You did what was advised based on professional opinion for the health and safety of you and your child. You are not weapon saying anything, she is just playing victim and you don't need to be around this toxic attitude. If she doesn't apologize or you can't come to a point where you are comfortable to be around her, just keep enjoying your baby and motherhood without this negative energy. Reply, they see a C-section as easy but it's really not. Thank you. I'm prioritizing my mental health and my son. Commenter 4, Wound Ta. Comparing round ligament pain, something every pregnant woman feels, to placenta previa that legit forces you to have no choice but to limit activity is truly insane. If she said this to your face, I can only imagine what they all say behind your back. I'd send her and your MIL info on placenta previa and why you couldn't work out and tell SIL you no longer want to be around someone like her and how hurtful it was to demonize a condition you had no control over that could have cost you and your son your lives. She's the type who'd give your baby something he's allergic to. BC she thinks you're exaggerating it or he needs to eat it to grow out of allergy. I would not feel safe around her. Reply, when we first told her about the diagnoses I provided her with facts but she is just stubborn and she says science makes pregnancy more complicated than it's supposed to when it's a natural thing. She doesn't babysit him, neither does my MIL. Is SIL a doctor and anti-vaxxer? Reply, no, she is an accountant. Surprisingly she vaccinates. But she hates epidural, iPad kids, eats organic food, etc. Update 1. So when I told my husband about what he did, I didn't like his reaction. I told him exactly what happens and he said, I don't want to interfere in women arguments, babe. I then told him that he can at least ask his sister to be sensitive about my experience and he said, why don't you talk to my mom about it so she sits you two down and have a mature discussion. My husband knows SIL is the apple of my MIL's eye so she would side with her. There has never been a need for my MIL to pick sides, but if there ever was we all know who he would. I told him that I would feel more comfortable if he is there. But he said it's a birth thing so women should discuss it. I mentioned in a comment on the original post that my hubby suggested therapy. He feels like the only reason I was offended by SIL is because I have not gotten over the fact that I had an emergency C-section. I mean he is right but I just really want him to talk to his sister. Is that so wrong? I want his support and for him to make things clear to her. If you are wondering whether I have support system like family, then no I don't. My parents are in a different country and I live in my husband's home country. I do have a few friends. That is why I appreciate all your kind comments, they mean a lot to me really. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, NTA. It's not a woman's birth thing. It's my birth thing and you're my partner, and that means that when your family acts like an asshole towards me, you need to be the one to step between us and tell them to back the fuck off. I don't care what her reasons are. I've told her flat out not to do a thing and she keeps doing it. If my dad or brother came over and told you about how you're doing parenting wrong, how you're a failure as a husband and a father, how would you feel if I just told you to talk to my daddy about my brother picking on you? Instead of standing up for you. You're making me feel like you agree with everything she's saying, and that's making me rethink how this relationship is going. And if I feel like you can actually protect and provide for me. You're not even protecting me from your family. That's pretty shitty. Reply, he says his hands are tied, but yet again nobody wants me to end up to SIL and offend her. He expressed his displeasure about my post too. Commenter 1, because it makes him look bad. His hands are tied by himself. No one's holding him down. He's choosing his family over the one he's making with you. That speaks pretty loud. Do you want to be a part of our family, or do you want to be a weekend dad? Because I clearly can't trust your judgment or trust you in general if you keep letting your family harass me. Your mom is not my fucking moderator. She's not my mom. She's also not without fault. There's a bias there. Where do you think your sister gets it? I'm not playing a game with someone over who can parent my child best. I'm the parent. My say, between me and your sister, is the final one. If you can't back me up, then I think you're making it pretty clear where I stand and what I should do moving forward. Reply, I feel as stupid cause he has been doing this since we got married. I should have established this then, maybe then I wouldn't be on Reddit asking for help. I have to have a talk with him, hopefully he hears me out. Thank you for your advice. Commenter 2, I would very seriously consider leaving husband to his family and taking the baby home to her own parents for a few months or years. If husband wants to come move to her, that's fine. But, he needs to sit down with her dad and talk to her dad because that's men's business. And her dad will rip him a new one. Reply, my parents are back home in our country. So my in-laws are my family here. He can't sit with my dad because my dad doesn't like him, he tolerates him and is civil but isn't fond of him. Commenter 3, yeah, don't wait to see a therapist. I had PPD after I had my son. The therapist had no problem with me bringing him to my appointments. Reply, I found one and they don't mind my son being there in my sessions. I am yet to meet up with her for my first appointment. Commenter 4, where to start? Please tell your husband if he needs to stay away from anything involving vaginas that he can keep it in his pants from now on. Reply, funny you say that when he talked about a sibling for Kai haha, he said it as a joke. I am so not ready again and won't be anytime soon. Update 2. Hey everyone, first off I would like to thank you all for the support I got on my 2 other posts. The love and support you gave me was more than appreciated and it gave me the courage to do what I did today. I saw some comments saying I named my son Tragedy, my husband, and I agreed that I would pick the first name and he would pick the middle name so we both get to name him. If you don't like the name then I don't know how to help you with that, besides I did not want his first name on the post so I used his other name Kyson. I now realized that I could have just used a fake name. Today a lot happened, I talked to my SIL and MIL and I also talked to my husband. It went terrible actually, that is an understatement to what happened today. My talk with SIL and MIL took place at my Mills house at around 10 a.m. I got there and they were already there. I expected my hubby to have gone with me but he didn't. My SIL got to the point and asked me why I was so upset at her. I reminded her all that she said to me and she said, was I wrong though? You are just offended that I spoke the truth. I remembered all the advice I got from your comments and I told her what I had learned about placenta previa and her misinformation. I also told her about the difference between round ligament pain and placenta previa and what I went through. She rolled her eyes and said that's what doctors want to do so they make money off of C-sections. My MIL the whole time sat there defending her and saying I shouldn't take it to heart while SIL still stood on all she said. SIL called me incompetent and sensitive so I said some colorful words and was walking out, BTW I was baby wearing. She grabbed my arm and pulled me telling me she isn't done talking and that I am walking away with her nephew. I told her to let me go or I'll get her arrested for handling me in that manner so she let go. I told them when they are ready to behave like adults then they will see Kyson. I was so scared of standing up for myself but I did it, my hands were shaking lol. I got home and hubby wasn't there so I got Kai to take a nap and called my dad. I spilled everything to him and he was furious, he told me to either move out or fly back home. I told him I have to talk to hubby first and I will tell them how things go. When hubby got home later in the afternoon I was breastfeeding. He came into the living room and asked how the meeting went. I could tell he had a sour mood. I told him it went bad and he told me, oh I know. He told me that his mother is so hurt by my disrespect. I told him how they behaved and he told me that I am trying to say his mother is a liar. So basically his mom called and told him I was screaming and shouting at them, she told him I was hysterical and even rattled Kai up. SIL backed MIL up so it was like a tag team. I explained what actually happened and he said all this drama wouldn't be happening if I didn't overreact to a few comments made at the party. I was shocked. I told him I thought he was supposed to defend me and he said he can't ruin the relationship with his family because of my insecurities. I told him that I will leave with my son and go to people who actually care about me and that my dad will book my flight. I walked away with Kyson and he grabbed my arm and said his son goes nowhere. He told me he was tired of my continuous complaints about his family. He said if I was still hurt by those comments then maybe I'm the problem and need to look into fixing it. He brought up a few memories I don't want to mention but just past experiences with his family. At this point it was getting loud and Kai was crying so I told hubby to relax. He didn't, let's just say the living room wall understood he was angry. So I told him I want to go somewhere I feel safe. I left with Kai and we are currently in a hotel. I want to move to another city and start life fresh there. I can request for a transfer. My husband expresses himself audibly when angry so what happened after that was so unusual and a shock. He has called me asking me to come home and that he was just frustrated. He know this account and he know about the posts, so he saw the comments that I got. He sent a message about how I let strangers love the internet get into my head and convince me against my family. He said he felt torn between supporting his sister and supporting me and I can't blame him for not knowing which side to take. I told him I don't want Kai to grow up in such an environment and stopped replying. I don't know if I was dramatic or I did too much. I still don't understand why he got so angry and why he reacted that way. I also want to know why his mom and sister lied to him. I don't know, there's a lot of uncertainty right now, but Kai and I are safe. I will talk to a lawyer about the next steps to take. I feel at peace. I have gone through so much in my 5 years of marriage. I now want to raise my son in a healthy environment. Thank you for all the support, really. Comment from my husband. My husband, I'm sick of this. Every account make is deleted and it's cause nobody want to hear my side. Redacted. I hope you are happy breaking your own family up cause of these strangers. You clearly enjoy strangers on the internet call me vile words. Please unblock me, I still deserve to see my son. Reply, don't say my name on a public app. I am happy because I am safe, stop posting stories trying to get attention. You were barely there when I was carrying Kyson, now you want to see him. If I was to list everything you have done to me and you had allowed your sister to do, Reddit wouldn't allow that. Just remind your sister that I have a burn mark. I stayed through all this. Please stop embarrassing yourself. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, I am so proud of you for standing your ground. You have absolutely done the right thing for yourself and your son. Book the next flight back to your parents and allow them to support and cherish both of you. Sending all my love and strength to you, you brave woman XXX. Reply, I'm not sure about brave since it took 5 years to do this. Thank you. Commenter 2, not sure what your other post is about exactly or where it is, I'll look after this comment, but your SIL isn't 100% wrong that docs say some things to encourage C-sections as they cost $. I say it because it happened to me. No need to also say, I will have you arrested, about she grabbed you. She didn't punch you. I feel like you saying that already is asking for more tension. You said you already said some colorful words, so that could have been enough. It sucks they're tag teaming up on you, but I feel like you're being dramatic with the C-section comments. Reply, it's not about the C-section, I was there to eventually talk this out and make peace or try to be civil. It's not about the C-section, although it's not appreciated her making me feel like I could have prevented almost dying. In my country forcibly holding someone from Levin can have you arrested, so yes I could, cause he held my hand while was baby wearing and pulled me towards her. If I had fell that would have been a charge for child endangerment. Where is your located? Reply, South Africa. Commenter 3, is that where you are, or where your family is? It might help you get better legal advice if you update the original post with both where you are, and where your family is. For example, I'm in the US and don't know anything about the laws in South Africa. There's a lot of people rooting for you. Hugs from an internet stranger. Reply, my parents are in the Philippines. Thank you so much. Commenter 4, he reads the comments. Good. Dear OP's husband, you are just as abusive as your sick family. Your sister is entitled and enabled by your mother. You are spineless for even considering choosing them over your wife. Your wife is your family. She is the mother of your child. You have now lost your family because you couldn't cut the umbilical cord from your own mother. However, it seems to be for the better, as no sane person would want a child to be around any of you. Sincerely, people who actually care about your wife's and child's safety. Reply, high chance he saw this. Can you leave where she is at? Reply, I can leave the city, not country, cause of his parental rights. He would need to authorize an international trip. It sounds like it's not the first time the MIL and SIL has lied to OOP's husband. Reply, you are right, it is not. His sister has been physically expressive with her anger once. He went LC with her after that incident, but then they made up. Commenter 5, did you take your personal documents, passport, IDs, birth certificate, etc.? If not, get a friend to go with you to retrieve it from your home. Don't go alone. Do not be anywhere alone that your disgusting husband and his family can get to you unprotected. Reply, I just prioritized getting my documents and my son's belongings. Update 3. So the police took my statement and I showed them the bruising, they opened a file for my case. They talked to my husband and SIL advising them to keep their distance. I want to apply for a protection order so they don't come near Kyson and I. My SIL, hubby, and MIL have not contacted me since their talk with the cops. As for our marriage, it's definitely over. Since I am a foreigner, I can't just pack and leave, especially since we have a child together. I would need his father's consent to leave the country, and we all know he will not give permission for that. I talked to a lawyer about my options and the laws around DV, travel, and custody. Legal action is going to take time. The protection order could take a few weeks. Since I want to leave and take away his parental rights, I have to prove DV and that he is unfit and can potentially hurt Kyson. Kyson also needs a passport. The whole legal process will take time, months if we are speaking. If my husband does contest anything, then it will take even longer. I was told it could 6 months or more to fully sort out the custody and permission to leave the country with baby Kentucky. It's not going to be fast, but I'm willing to have the patience for this if it means safety for my son and I. Good news is my parents and brothers are flying over, they will arrive end of this week. So yeah, yesterday that was all I did, met the police and a lawyer, also moved to live with a friend of mine and her husband. My dad and brothers said they want to talk to my husband, soon to be ex, about men stuff. I don't think that's a good idea, lol. The stress and everything of this has made my milk supply drop significantly. In my first post I mentioned in the comments that it is low, but it has gotten worse. I really want to be able to fully feed my baby and it's so hard to be hydrated and eat well. I need sleep. Kai has also been very fussy. This update might be all over the place, but I made progress. Hopefully in a few months' time I will be giving a great update from my parents' house. I didn't do a lot, but there's so much to do, but it's one step at a time. I might not respond to all your comments, but I promise I see your advice and appreciate it heavily. Thank you for all the support. Relevant comments. How did you get to see a lawyer that quickly? Reply, I know in my other post I mentioned connections when in the comments, I don't know if you saw that. I have to meet him again to open a case file and start everything. I'm glad he explained my options to me. Commenter 1, all I could hear when reading what your soon-to-be ex-husband was, wah wah wah, I'm a mommy's boy who wants his bottle, wah wah wah, good for you, OP, who needs that shit. Reply, funny thing is his mom doesn't like him that much lol. I don't get how he is a mama's boy but she doesn't like him. Stories number 16. My neighbor wants me to mow my lawn only when she's not home because she doesn't like the smell of cut grass. Last week, my neighbor left a note in my mailbox asking me to avoid mowing my lawn when she's home. Her reason wasn't because of noise or allergies, just because she doesn't like the smell of freshly cut grass. That was the whole reason. The thing is, she's a housewife. She's home almost all day, every day. There's no clear window of time that works unless I start mowing in the middle of the night, which of course ironically, would be inconsiderate. I didn't respond to the note. I kept mowing on weekends like I always do, which is usually late morning or early afternoon, never too early or too late, just standard courtesy timing. Since then, she's made it a habit to stand outside and visibly hold her nose or wave her hand dramatically when I mow. Once, she even shut all her windows with exaggerated movements while staring at me like I'd committed a crime. She recently left another note, and this time suggesting I coordinate mowing times with her own mowing schedule. Again, no real suggestion for when that would be, just the expectation that I somehow figure it out, which I'm clueless of since I am a 9-to-5 worker. It's not a massive yard. It takes 20 minutes tops, once a week. I don't use any strong chemicals, and the mower is electric, hence it's not so loud. But apparently, fresh grass is now offensive if it reaches the wrong nose at the wrong time. I'm not sure what she expects. That the entire neighborhood schedules their outdoor chores around her nostrils. Stories number 17. I 24F think my boyfriend 23M is sleeping with his boss 54F because he always comes home late showered and she gives him bonuses. How can I get to the truth of it? My boyfriend and I live together and have dated for 3 years. He has worked for his boss for couple years now. She's a divorced woman and I've met her before. The thing is that she was super nice to me, but I cannot seem to trust her. My boyfriend does extra work for her as overtime sometimes when she needs help at the house, and she pays him a lot extra. My boyfriend works a physical job, so he usually comes home dusty and sweaty. Now it's becoming more often, but he comes home already showered sometimes. I asked him for, and he said boss lets him use her shower sometimes when he works late and want to just get home and rest. She also gives him a lot of extra cash and I find it too much for what he does for work. He also sometimes brings home gifts for me that his boss sends for me. I don't know why she would randomly send me expensive gifts or gift cards, it just doesn't sit right with me. I looked through his phone but he never has any messages with her, so I DK if he deletes them. We have each other's location, so if I try to go watch what he does he would know too. Is there anything I should do to get more evidence? Or how do I even confront him without proof? She treats him too nice, I have noticed, and she definitely at least finds him attractive, because the last time I went to their company party she kept telling me how I was a lucky girl to have a handsome boyfriend. Update. And I went through most of the comments, even the negative ones. I ended up showing up at my boyfriend's boss house and left my phone at home to see if maybe I could find something out without him knowing. I got there and saw she had cameras, so I just stayed in my car to look around, and I didn't see much other than the fact that my boyfriend's truck was in face there in her driveway but his tools were still in the back. I have gifted him some tool boxes that stack, so I know exactly how many he has. All of his boxes were still in the bed of his truck, so I found it super weird and got a weird gut feeling. I ended up getting too nervous to go knock, so I left back home and waited for him. He got home late as always and he didn't want to have sex, so I found it really weird. When he fell asleep I gave his phone one more look because TBH it was too clean the last time I checked it. I finically found out he has hidden apps, and I found out that they have apparently been communicating through WhatsApp and not messages. I wish I didn't find that, but honestly, I at least know what he was doing. They have been seeing each other and she pays him to sleep with her. I saw all the messages between them, and what hurt more was that she even recorded him fucking her and sent those videos in the chat to him. She knows I wouldn't be okay with this, and she said if he wasn't with me, she would have taken him for herself. She also does mention gifts she has sent me, and she has promised him that she would in the near future pay for our vacation / take care of us. I called her through his phone and yelled at her and told her how I felt, and she told me I should be grateful that she sends me gifts and doesn't completely take him from me. I was crying in bathroom reading and seeing all this, but I woke him up and got into a bad argument with him. He apologized and I didn't believe him, but now I can't go anywhere until I get some more money. I can't afford to just move out, and he has been taking care of me financially for the most part. I don't have my parents either. How do I even go about moving on from him completely when I can't even afford to leave? Stories number 18. Found my close friend, 31F, on Bumble a month before her wedding. My work wife from my first job has been a close friend of mine for years. We still hang out at least a couple times a week. She's engaged to a guy who I really like and is getting married in May. Yesterday, a friend of mine found her on Bumble and texted me screenshots. I sent them to her asking if there is something I should know, and she replied that they must be from when she was still single and that she probably forgot to turn it off. Thing is, I recognize the pictures and they're recent. My GF and I are even in one of them. I had spoken to her fiance earlier that day about bachelor party plans and everything sounded like it's very much still on. Some of our friends have joked that she can do better. She's really, really attractive and makes great money, while he's very much the blue-collar type. But he treats her like a princess, a big upgrade from the trash fuckboys she's dated in the past. I get the feeling she's having second thoughts and looking around again. I'm kind of conflicted on whether or not I should bring this up, and if I do, whether I should talk to her or him about it. She's a close friend, and if things don't work out, it's her side that I'll take. But I've been in toxic relationships before and can't help but think I'd feel very guilty if he marries her next month without knowing she's not fully invested. Any advice on how I can approach this? Or should I just leave it alone? TLDR, found my friend's new Bumble profile. She's getting married in a month. Do I bring it up? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Some of our friends have joked that she can do better. She's really, really attractive and makes great money, while he's very much the blue-collar type. These friends are really shit people and you should get rid of them. Reply. I couldn't agree more. They're a group we worked with, not people I care much to spend time with outside of that world. Commenter 2. Okay, I'm gonna go against the grain here for a sec and share a personal story that I feel is relevant. I had a friend message me once on Facebook and say, "Oh, I saw you on Bumble, didn't realize you and ex had split." We had split, but I hadn't used Bumble in well over a year. I did some research and a Bumble account needs to be actively deactivated. Just deleting the app or not using it doesn't stop your profile being shared. Ever. So she could be right. Now on to the pictures. Where were they? An updated profile pic is fishy AF. However, if they are in the social media gallery and she has uploaded them to Instagram etc., Bumble will automatically update those pics. So she could legitimately have not used the app for months or even years, but is still appearing to other users with updated Instagram pics attached. I would talk to her first. When this happened to me I was single, but I was still really embarrassed, mostly because I had lost weight since I created the profile and had moved to a new area, so the first impression of me to all the new guys in town was me ignoring them on Bumble where I was fatter in most of the pictures, and I was glad I was told because I was not aware that your profile remains active even if you don't use it. Top comment. Commenter. I know plenty of people might say stay out of it, and I understand that to some degree, but all I can think is that if I were that guy I would hope someone would tell me that information before I got married to a person like her. Update. After some back and forth about whether I should leave it alone, I decided to bring it up with her again today at happy hour. Plan was to frame it as, I know that's not an old profile from the pictures, just wanted to make sure you're okay. Turns out I didn't have to, she came clean about it before I even had the chance to broach the subject. She's had some really serious political/lifestyle arguments with her fiancé in the last month, and while she still cares for him, isn't sure she can see herself wanting to have children with someone whose values are so radically different from hers. He and I have never talked politics much, but I knew he was pretty far to the left while she's a social liberal/fiscal conservative, but apparently he's also vehemently against giving any vaccinations to any future kids they might have, which he had never mentioned before. Not just COVID, any immunizations at all. I can't say I would be comfortable marrying someone in that situation either. In regards to the Bumble profile, she was out of town for work a couple weeks ago, got into a big fight with him over the phone and made the profile later that night while drinking at the hotel bar out of frustration. She feels guilty about doing it and deleted the app when she got home, but didn't realize that meant the profile would still be up. She says she didn't actually go out with anyone but got a bunch of matches, and it kind of served as verification to her that she still had options. She asked what I would do if I were in her situation, and I gave her the honest response that I'd end it before it was too late and things got out of hand. For the record, I'm not the only one she talked to about this, and she says she got the same advice from family and another close friend. So she's calling off her engagement tomorrow, hoping my GF and I can help her pick up the pieces. Shame it didn't work out, but knowing the whole story, I think it's for the best. Stories number 19. Aita for not letting my friend borrow one of my designer dresses for a wedding after she called me shallow for buying them. I'm 26F, have a stable job, no kids, and I like to treat myself sometimes. I've saved up for a few designer dresses over the years, nothing outrageous, just a handful of nice pieces I wear to special events. I'm careful with them, and they mean a lot to me because they're things I actually worked hard for. One of my close friends, Lena 27F, has always made snide comments about my clothes. Stuff like, I don't get how you can spend that much on fabric, or I could never be that shallow. I usually laugh it off, but honestly, it does get under my skin. She clearly thinks I'm materialistic, even though I've never judged her lifestyle or spending habits. Anyway, she's going to a wedding soon and texted me out of the blue asking to borrow one of my dresses. No apology, no acknowledgement of the past comments, just, you have so many, I figured you wouldn't mind. I politely said no, explaining I don't lend them out, especially for trips where I won't be there. She snapped back that I was being selfish and dramatic, and now a few mutual friends are chiming in saying it's just a dress. But I can't help feeling like it's more than that. Why should she benefit from something she's constantly belittled me for? Stories number 20. Aita for declining my sister's friend request to use my cabin. My name is Rose, I am 38 years old and I have just one loving sister, although we live in different cities. I have a small cabin off town that I inherited from my grandparents 3 years ago. It's about 2 hours from our family house. It's very quiet and it has a lake nearby, nothing really luxurious but a great place to cool off. I do go there often and I only allow close friends and family to use it if they ask in advance, as long as they use it neatly and treat it with respect. Earlier this week on Tuesday, I received a message on my Facebook from a woman I've met once, and only thing I know about her is that she's my sister's friend during RH. Because of our interactions, I then learned that she's a nurse. We chatted briefly at a barbecue last year, that was when I met her. She messaged me saying she just learned about the cabin and wanted to know if it was available for the weekend. I told her no, that I was planning on going up this weekend myself. Her response was sharp, as if she was offended. Oh wow, okay. I just really needed a break. I've been on tight working schedule for a week and as a nurse is exhausting, this would have been a perfect reset for me. I figured you'd understand. I said I do understand, and I appreciate her work, but the cabin isn't available this weekend. Hoping everything would end here, but she flared up. You don't even use it that often, right? I don't get extra money enough to afford places like that. I wouldn't have come to you. I just thought if you weren't selfish, you would offer it as a kindness. I knew where it was all headed. I read and ignored. Later, about some hours passed, my sister called asking me what happened, saying her friend was really upset and felt like I was being rude and inconsiderate. It turned out that she told my sister I didn't care about her even as a healthcare worker, that I made that fact clear, and that it would have cost me nothing to let her use the cabin for 2 days. Stories number 21. My boyfriend wants to spend a week with a female friend while I am away. I, 27F, live with my boyfriend, 25M. We've been together for almost 2 years, started living together recently after being long distance for a while, and this summer I'll be abroad for a few weeks visiting my family. Recently, an issue came up and I'd really appreciate outside perspectives. Here's the situation. My boyfriend has a female friend, 26F, who is visiting our country to see another friend. Knowing she'd be around, he sent her a message about an event happening near our place, something like, "You might be interested in this," type of thing. She replied asking if she could stay at our place for a week and then go to the event. I don't know if she's aware that I won't be home during this time. What I do know is that my boyfriend is totally fine with the idea and just answered that he will let her know. I honestly trust him. I don't think anything would happen. But I still find it uncomfortable that he's okay with having another woman stay over while I'm gone, and not just stay, but stay to go to an event together, just the two of them. That personally feels intimate, even if it's not something romantic. He, on the other hand, sees zero problem with it. He says he would be 100% fine if I did the same with a male friend, and even though we cannot say that would be the case until it happens, I feel like it could be true. Thing is, I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that myself, not even if he said it was okay. To me, it feels like a gray area. Like it doesn't violate trust, but it tests emotional boundaries. My boyfriend is very close to his 2 sisters, and I wonder if that has shaped his comfort level being around women platonically. He sees it as, a friend is just a friend. But to me, sharing a home in your partner's absence adds a level of emotional intimacy that I wouldn't personally feel okay creating with someone of the opposite sex. We've talked about it, and he's willing to respect my wishes, but we're still not quite seeing eye to eye. And I'm trying to understand myself better. Why does this bother me so much when I trust him? For this reason I'm asking you guys an opinion. Thanks for reading. Edit. Wanted to add that they have been friends for 3 years and that I've met her a few times. She's nice but I don't really know her much. I wouldn't say we are friends, more acquaintances. Also she has a boyfriend if this info can be of any help for the context. Lastly, my boyfriend lied to my face about minor things a few times in the past, so even if I trust that he wouldn't cheat, I don't believe him when he says that he never had thoughts or feelings towards her. Edit 2. I didn't expect for this post to get this much attention. Me and my boyfriend are reading the comments together and talking about what we think. I'll try to come back with an update. It's been very interesting to read everyone's thoughts on this topic. Top comments. Commenter 1, guy here, if my GF is not comfortable with it, I would totally understand, say to other girl, sorry my GF1, TB here so I cannot let you stay. End of discussion. Hoping if it happens the other way around, my GF would do the same, it works both ways. Commenter 2, this isn't about trust, it's about boundaries. Sharing your home and making plans with another woman while you're gone can feel too close, and it's okay that it makes you uncomfortable. Commenter 3, communication is key in every relationship. Trust your gut, but also trust your partner and keep the conversation open. There's no one-size-fits-all when it comes to relationship boundaries. It has to be tailored by both parties involved. Commenter 4, you're allowed to be uncomfortable with it. Relationship are two individuals with unique lived experiences. This is your home too. Just communicate. It isn't about trust, it's about comfort. A stranger sleeping in your home while you are away is allowed to be off the table. He should understand and respect your boundary. Your only issue is being upset he is okay with it. He's allowed to have his own feelings, they don't invalidate yours. He doesn't need to agree with you, but a good partner would respect your boundary regardless. Him being okay with it shouldn't be upsetting, that's a you problem you need to address. There are times when a partner's feelings are disturbing or worrisome, but this isn't it. Update. Hello everyone, first of all I want to thank the people that shared their thoughts. I received many responses and really appreciated the opportunity to reflect. My boyfriend and I read the many comments together and we were surprised by the fact that the opinions are clearly divided. Some emphasize trust and suggest I might be overthinking things, while others agreed that my feelings and boundaries are valid. This discussion helped me realize I've always been open about my own friendships, how long I've known someone and what our bond is like, but we had never really talked in depth about his friendships, especially with women. It was very nice to talk it out and I now have a clearer understanding of his social life. Personally, I've gained more clarity on why this situation doesn't sit right with me. 2 of my boundaries are being crossed. First, my home is my sanctuary. Having someone I don't know very well stay for an extended period isn't okay with me. Especially since my boyfriend has to work, meaning the guest would often be home alone. To be clear, this boundary applies regardless of the guest's gender. Second, a full week in that kind of intimate setting feels more like a relationship-level arrangement than a casual friendship. That level of exclusivity is something I expect in a romantic partnership, not between friends. In this case the gender is regarded because it creates ambiguity. That said, I don't consider visits like this completely off the table forever. But it's important for me to know more the other person and for the visits to be shorter. We don't always see things the same way, especially because we come from different countries and cultures, but he's committed to respecting my boundaries. He wants us to act as a united front, so we agreed that before saying yes/no to any guest, we will talk it through and respond together. We also live in a continent where visiting friends across borders is easy and common. There will be plenty of occasions for us to meet this friend of his. I'm not taking away a unique opportunity. Finally, some suggested installing cameras, but we already have cameras at the entrance. We also share locations with each other, so I don't think he ever considered lying to me about this. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, so is she going to stay at your place or not? Reply, in the main post I had written that my boyfriend is willing to respect my wishes, meaning that she won't come. Sorry for the unclearness. Commenter 2, relationships have boundaries, and it's a good sign that he's willing to compromise and be level-headed about the discussion. But as a man myself, I would never even think to bring up something like that to my lady. Anyone with a single brain cell left would know immediately how uncomfortable that would make a person, man or woman. It has nothing to do with insecurity and everything to do with common sense, respect and boundaries. But kudos to you both for how it was handled from both parties. Stories number 22. Aita for asking my MIL to be my backup birthing partner over my dad's wife. My dad, 50s, started dating his wife Fran, 50s, when I, 30F, was in college. From the beginning she was too much for me. The first time I met her she asked personal/intrusive questions about growing up without a mother and how did I handle becoming a woman with only a man in the house and mostly men in my extended family. My dad was like, oh, she's just so excited to meet you and she's looking forward to helping you as a female/motherly mentor role. I explained to her a couple of times in those early times of meeting her that I wasn't comfortable sharing personal stuff with her because we didn't even know each other. She told me she knew me better than she knew herself and I didn't need to stress about not having a mom anymore because she was there and she would never falter in her new duties. I explained to her that she had none and I was an independent adult who no longer lived at home. But she didn't listen to any of it and she did what she wanted. She wanted to have a sex ed talk with me and I didn't visit my dad for a solid 8 months after her attempt. And not just because she tried to have a talk like that with me but she would not take no for an answer. Our relationship has always leaned very one-sided. She loves me, wants to be a part of my daily life, wants us to hang out and for me to let her mother me. While I always have to psych myself up to see her and I do not enjoy a moment of it. She has become very jealous of my MIL too. I met my MIL when I was 20 and she was a real sweetheart. Our relationship has become incredibly close over the years. When my husband and I were planning our wedding she was incredibly helpful and supportive and went for a walk with my dad's wife a number of times when she was trying to intrude and wouldn't take no for an answer or when she was trying to cling to me. MIL stepped in enough times that we gave her a thank you gift after the wedding was all over. There's other stuff I could get into but I don't want to make this a super long post. The issue we're having now is this. My husband is sensitive to blood and could pass out or become unwell during my labor. He's trying to work on improving this so it's not an issue when I give birth to our first child. So we wanted to have a backup birthing partner for me and I asked my MIL, who said yes. She's the kind of supportive person I would want because she listens and she would never try to force anything on me. My dad's wife is offended I chose MIL for this. She and my dad are planning to stay at an Airbnb for an extended period before I give birth and for a while after and because of this she feels she should be the person I ask as the actual mother figure in my life. I said nothing about her reaction and I'm ignoring all her attempts to bring this up to me. I ignored my dad when he brought it up to me too. All I know is they still plan to come and she's possibly going to attempt some in-person pushing of the topic and probably expects some kind of apology. I don't think I owe her one or owe her being asked to fill in if needed. But maybe she's right and I'm wrong so I'll ask Aita. Stories number 23. Aita because I turned my car around when my brother wouldn't wear his seatbelt properly. I 18M and my brother 26M were going to eat at a restaurant. Since I can't and won't drink I've become the designated driver of the family. Regardless, while I was driving to the restaurant I noticed that my brother only had the waist portion of the seatbelt on. I asked him to wear the seatbelt properly multiple times, and when he refused I told him that I would stop the car until he did so. He still refused and because this has happened before, but before he wasn't wearing it completely, I started calling my parents. We are Brazilians, and in our culture we still stay with our parents for a while and do as they say, so they would tell him to put the seatbelt on properly. He started getting mad saying that I was ruining the night for our parents and took his hat off and started hitting the dashboard. I kept going home since he kept saying to my parents that he did have the seatbelt on, which is true, but it wasn't placed properly. When I got home my mom said that me and my brother were ruining their night and we were both in the wrong. My dad however knows these stunts that my brother can pull and said that he was in the wrong. I really don't think I am in the wrong because I just want my brother's safety regardless if he likes me or not even though he says, it's my life not yours. Although I can see how it would be annoying to him. I really don't know what to think and at this point I think I'm just ranting. Aita. Edit 1. He went to the restaurant with his own car saying that he wouldn't wear a seatbelt and that he's probably going to drink. Pretty worried about him. Edit 2. Thanks to everyone for the support, I feel a lot better and will take you guys' advice if it happens again. He's home safe now, and in the end that's all I care about. Stories number 24. Told my 33M wife, 34F, the reason why I don't host as much is because she doesn't wear a bra/scarf around guests. How to navigate this? We're both Indian, early 30s, married for 5 years, no kids yet. We've both grown up with similar values on family. Be good hosts, respect elders, dress decently, don't embarrass your spouse, but lately I've started to feel that those values are applied selectively. Mostly on me. A while back, my wife told me she didn't like me wearing sleeveless tank tops around the house when her sister or female friends visit. She said it made them uncomfortable. Fair enough. I didn't argue, didn't turn it into some debate about masculinity or personal freedom. I understood and made the change, but when I asked her for something similar just to be a bit more mindful of her clothes around my male friends or relatives, maybe throw on a scarf or something if she's not wearing a bra, it turned into this whole gender issue. I didn't even say she had to wear a bra. I just said, look, not everyone's comfortable, I'm just asking for some consideration. Said I was trying to control her body, that I was being patriarchal, that if she were a man I wouldn't have said anything. It went from a simple, reasonable ask to a full-blown lecture about internalized misogyny I didn't ask for and how I should be better than that. And that's the part that gets to me. I didn't bring it up to shame her. I brought it up because I wanted people to feel comfortable in our home just like she did when she brought up my tank tops. But instead of seeing it for what it was, she twisted a non-issue into an issue, and then somehow made me the problem. I've started going out more. I host less. And now that she's the one noticing I'm gone too much, she's asking why. She says the house feels empty, that I'm not as present anymore and feels lonely and isn't able to socialize as much because she herself has no real friends and me inviting people over lets her feel good. And I finally told her, you want me home, but only on your terms. You want me to play team when it's your comfort at stake, but when it's mine. Suddenly I'm a misogynist for even bringing it up. I took one for the team. You refuse to. She's a little upset and considering changing this about herself, but I do feel weird twinge about having to be harsh about this. Stories number 25. Aita for reminding my sister she's never worked a day in her life. Today, my sister was telling us she went to a restaurant with her friends. I casually said the place is expensive because you're basically forced to order both food and a complex drink, it adds up. Nothing crazy, just a comment. She snapped back saying that's a poor person mindset, that I'm limiting myself, and that thinking something is expensive is a sign of scarcity thinking. That really rubbed me the wrong way. I replied something like, what would you know about money? When have you ever worked for anything? Which, yeah, was maybe a bit harsh, but it's also true. She's never worked a job. She goes to a private university, doesn't pay for anything herself, goes out a lot with her friends, and it's all funded by our parents. To be clear, I'm not mad that she goes out or that our parents support her, that's their choice. But I found it kind of ridiculous for someone who has never had to earn money to criticize me for saying something is expensive. It just came off as super tone-deaf and privileged. So. Aita for reminding her she's never worked. Edit, okay, I think I left out some context. So the restaurant in question is just a regular chain buffet in Mexico. Yes, I live in Mexico. To eat the buffet, they require you to order a large drink, alcoholic or not, and that bumps up the price quite a bit. The thing is, back when I was in university, that same restaurant was right by my house, and I didn't go often because honestly, it was expensive. For what I'd spend there, I could eat 4 full meals at cheaper places nearby. My comment wasn't that deep, it was just a casual remark about the pricing, like anyone might say. What set me off was her response, saying I had a poor mindset, and that thinking something is expensive means I'm limiting myself. That's when I reminded her she's literally never worked and called the comment stupid. I admit I was blunt and maybe a bit rude, saying stupid, but TBH it was an stupid comment. She got upset and said I made her feel bad, and that's why I'm asking here. Also, to be fair, she's not super spoiled or anything, this particular comment just rubbed me the wrong way. Stories number 26. Reword this. How do I deal with the jealousy I didn't expect over my ex-husband's new girlfriend? I'm a 41-year-old woman, and my ex-husband is 42. We divorced when our son was just 7 years old. He's now 15, almost 16, and somehow, over the years, my ex and I found our way back to being friends. Real friends. Not just civil co-parents, but people who genuinely enjoy each other's company. We laugh, talk, share stories, and sometimes we hang out even when it's not about our son. It's been surprisingly healing, and I thought we'd found a sweet, stable rhythm. But now, he's seeing someone new. At first, it didn't seem like much. But lately, it's gotten more serious. I've met her briefly, but I don't know her well. My son spends more time around her than I do, and he really likes her. He talks about how kind and fun she is, how she makes his dad happy, and I smile and nod, say all the right supportive things. But inside, I wasn't prepared for the sharp pang of jealousy that hit me. I'm embarrassed by how much it stung to hear him describe how happy he is. I'm not pining for him, I don't want to get back together. But I think I was caught off guard by how much I valued the connection we'd rebuilt. And now it feels like someone new is quietly rewriting the boundaries of it. His girlfriend isn't comfortable with how close we are. She's okay with us communicating about our son, but anything more? Like grabbing coffee, laughing over a memory, or just existing in each other's space without tension. She doesn't like it. And I can tell he's starting to pull away. Nothing dramatic, just small changes, less texting, less openness, fewer invitations. Like he's preemptively softening our bond to keep his relationship smooth. And it hurts more than I want to admit. The biggest blow. Months ago, he and I planned a special trip for our son's 16th birthday, just the three of us. It was meant to be this memorable, family-adjacent experience centered around something our son is obsessed with. A celebration that honored how far we've come as co-parents. But now, she's coming too. She doesn't even like the activity, but she'll be there anyway. I found out from my son. Not from my ex. That part really stung. I haven't said anything yet because I don't want to sound jealous or territorial. But inside, I feel like a piece of something sacred is being chipped away. This small, safe space the three of us had, me, my ex, and our son, is slowly being overtaken, and I don't know how to protect it without seeming like the crazy ex-wife who can't let go. I've worked so hard to be emotionally steady, mature, and supportive through this entire journey. I don't want to undo that progress. But I also don't want to pretend this doesn't hurt. How do I deal with these feelings in a healthy way, without creating unnecessary drama? Is it even okay to ask for boundaries here, or would that just make things worse? Relevant comments. Commenter 1, sounds to me like you're not over your ex. I don't know who ended it or why. It's great that you can effectively co-parent, but it's not normal to plan a shared memory trip with an ex, and frankly I don't know many people who'd be okay with their partner going away with an ex. Reply, we didn't really intend to plan a trip for the purpose of going on a trip together, originally. A band we love is reuniting, and while we've both seen them before, in fact, 20 years ago when we were a new couple, this is our son's first chance to see them. So, that's why the trip is happening, and it happens to be happening right around our son's birthday, so we're celebrating his birthday as part of the trip too. Commenter 2, I would feel tremendously uncomfortable if my partner hung out with his ex alone. It's a bit inappropriate. Him moving on and finding a new partner means your dynamic has to change, which really sucks, but it's inevitable. No girlfriend wants to play third wheel to her own relationship. It seems appropriate that she come on a family trip, especially if she's on the way to becoming his family. It's time to put distance between you and him. Make new friends that aren't your ex. Reply, I don't really think it makes sense for her to come on this trip. I think she's coming to chaperone us, because we're going to do something together with our son in the hotel room. Commenter 3, you've been divorced for years and still act like you're together. You stopped being a family when you got divorced. No more family trips and stop hanging out as friends. You're not his wife anymore. You can't set boundaries on their relationship. Get therapy to figure out why you can't move on. Reply, I don't think it means we stopped being a family, but just a family with a different arrangement. Commenter 4, so if you don't have romantic feelings for your ex, then I'm guessing the issue is the possibility that this woman may become your son's other mom. And you felt jealous and territorial when your son came home and told you how great she is. If this is the case, I can only imagine that this is very normal, feeling replaced or competitive with another woman he may call mom. Regardless of the underlying issue, this is bound to happen sooner or later, and you need to find a way to accept it or it will make you miserable. I think you should get the help of a therapist to work through this so you can be at peace and a better mom and co-parent. Reply, to be perfectly honest, I guess I don't know 100% where these feelings are truly coming from or what they're actually about. I feel very secure about the relationship I have with my son, but it does feel rather alien to have this other woman in his life in any way. Of course, I know she isn't acting like his mom, and I'm not accusing her of acting in any way like that. Maybe I feel left out thinking of the three of them doing stuff together. Commenter 5 sounds like a good trip for the new girlfriend to come on too, honestly. She can meet you, bond more with your son, and also learn about his interest in the band. And yes, it's really weird that you want to see a band together with an ex that was special while you dated. Even if you are friends now, this is not a common activity for exes to undertake. Reply, people want to say I'm going on this trip for sentimental purposes to do with my ex-husband. Ha! If anything, the sentimental part has more to do with the first love of my life and the first man I ever gave my heart to, Noel Gallagher. I was saving for him when I was a teenager. Unfortunately, that plan was thwarted after I was nearly arrested trying to sneak backstage at one of their shows. I saw them many times, traveled all over the country. I'm in the US. It's hard to explain just how much of my heart this band owns, but maybe if people could understand this part they would understand that my ex-husband is not really my main focus here. Update, how do I emotionally detach from my ex-husband, my closest friend of 20 years, now that his new relationship is getting serious? Earlier this month, I shared a post about the unexpected jealousy I've been feeling since my ex-husband started dating someone new. It wasn't the typical, I want him back, kind of jealousy. It was more complicated, more layered. I wasn't prepared for how much it would hurt to feel myself being slowly pushed out of the space we've held for each other for so long. Thanks to everyone who replied. While I didn't walk away with a list of clear steps, I did hear one message over and over again: therapy. Some comments genuinely helped me begin to unpack what I'm actually feeling beneath the surface. Will I go to therapy? Not immediately, but maybe. We'll see. For now, I'm just trying to manage this on my own. One of the biggest stress points lately has been a birthday trip we planned almost a year ago, for our son's 16th. Just the three of us. It was meant to be special. Our son's obsessed with this band, and we were going to take him to a concert. It was going to be one of those rare, shared memories where everyone gets along and life feels light. But then my son casually mentioned that my ex's girlfriend is now coming. I hadn't heard a word about this from my ex, and I tried not to jump to conclusions. So I asked him directly, calmly, what the plan was. I told him I needed to know for hotel arrangements. Internally I was angry and hurt, but I kept it neutral. Honestly, I don't want her to come. And I'm still simmering about it. He admitted that she kind of invited herself. He said he hadn't told me yet because he was still hoping she'd change her mind. Apparently, she made it clear she expected to be included, and he felt like he couldn't say no without causing issues in their relationship. He literally said, "You think I want to go on a trip with both of you?" That gave me whiplash, equal parts validation and frustration. I offered a few suggestions, even though they made me feel awful. I said I could give her my concert ticket and buy another one for a different seat so I wouldn't have to sit near them. Or maybe I could just take our son to a different show on another date entirely. I hated even suggesting those things, but I guess I wanted to see how he'd respond. He shut it down immediately. "No way you're giving her your ticket. No way you're sitting apart. And absolutely not, we've planned this for a year." So we agreed to cancel the shared hotel room and book separate ones instead. That felt like a fair compromise. I didn't bring up how uncomfortable his girlfriend is with us being close. I get it. Most people in her position would probably feel the same. It's awkward. And I'll deal with that quietly, on my own. But here's what I can't seem to process: I still text him daily. Not about parenting or logistics, just life. Music, memories, inside jokes, whatever. He's been my best friend for over 20 years. That's not an exaggeration. And before anyone rolls their eyes or accuses me of being the obsessive ex, he said the same about me. The truth is, I haven't had another best friend since losing two close girlfriends years ago. Those friendships faded for reasons I won't get into here. I've tried to find that kind of connection again, but it hasn't happened. So my ex. He's still the person I feel closest to. The one who knows all the layers of me. The one who gets me. I don't want to get back together. That's not what this is about. But I'm starting to realize I never truly detached from him, not emotionally. I've always seen him as mine in some unspoken, non-romantic way. Not in a possessive or toxic sense, but like he's still a main character in my story, not someone living a separate one. Recently, I spent some time at his house. He was watching our dog, technically our son's dog, while I had a work event. His girlfriend was there. They don't live together yet. We were all outside playing with the dogs on their splash pad. Then he asked me, top 5 albums of all time. Go. And we fell into one of those familiar, rapid-fire debates about music, our thing. It spiraled into top 5 guitarists, favorite lyrics, random trivia. But I saw her face. She didn't join the conversation, couldn't, maybe. She clearly wasn't enjoying it. I tried to steer the chat into a direction that included her, but I'm bad at small talk. Eventually, I just made a polite excuse and left. And now I'm stuck wondering, how do you actually start detaching from someone who still feels like your person, even if not romantically, especially when you still share a child and a life of overlapping responsibilities? How do you let go of someone who was once your entire emotional home? I'm trying to figure that out. And it hurts. Stories number 27. My cousin thinks he deserves a cut of my salary because I got hired after talking about job hunting in his living room. A few months ago, I visited my cousin for a casual afternoon hangout. I had just moved into my own place in the city and was in the middle of job hunting. Nothing serious, we were just catching up and talking about where life was heading. While I was there, one of his friends came over and he seemed cool. The three of us ended up talking about careers, choices, timing, typical adult catch-up stuff. I happened to mention I was looking for roles in a specific industry. It wasn't a pitch or a request, just part of the flow of conversation. Apparently, that friend remembered because a few days later, he reached out and said he might be able to connect me with someone hiring. I followed up, sent my resume, and went through a standard hiring process that is interviews, reference checks, the usual. A few weeks later, I got the job. It was a great opportunity, and I was thankful he helped connect me. My cousin said congrats at first. But soon enough he started acting strange. He began saying things like the job only happened because I was at his house when the conversation took place. He started hinting that he deserved something for it. He was bluntly suggesting like a small cut of my salary every month. Then one day, he actually sent me his bank details and said I should send him some money regularly, since the connection came through his house. I never replied, and then I started hearing about the shitty things he has been saying behind my back to relatives and even mutual friends. It still blows my mind that someone thinks they deserve money just because I talked about my goals in their living room. Stories number 28. 30M, found my partner, 30F, on Hinge. As the title says, we were walking and she was showing me something on her phone, and in the most recent apps I saw Hinge. I asked her about it and she said she's been using it to scroll through, like social media. She showed me the most recent messages and there was nothing there. She said she hasn't spoken to anyone on the app and hasn't met with anyone. She also said she hadn't changed her pictures. I left because I had to think about things. A few days later, we met and I asked to go through her Hinge and she said she deleted the app and I asked her to re-download it. She did. She was doing something on the app in front of me, so I asked for phone. She had uploaded new pictures, because she looks good in them, and there was nothing else on there. I asked what she was doing whilst I was waiting. She said she was looking at her profile and I asked her again. She then said she deleted messages. I asked why and she said they were personal and before we got together. She had also previously unmatched me but not them. From all this she's annoyed at me for being cold about the way I went about things and the fact I breached her trust by going through her Hinge. I was ready to end things but we had a holiday booked a few days later so we went. Throughout the holiday she showed me that she really cared about me and it's really messed my head up. I know it's over and I need to move on but I just feel like I need to know if she's cheated on me or not, but she gets defensive when I bring it up. I know I'm being a complete idiot but please give me your honest thoughts about the situation. Comments. Commenter 1. Your girl is on a dating site. Don't let your mind play tricks on you or have her gaslight you. She is keeping her options open. Commenter 2. People don't use Hinge like social media. She was also hiding messages. Dump her cheating ass, before she tries it again, but this time you won't know about it. Commenter 3. For real, yeah, I don't use Tinder to scroll. WTF, at least make the lie believable. Commenter 4. You know you're dating a narcissist when they get mad at you for going through their dating app. Dude. She's cheating. Update. So I went to go and see her to have the talk. We started with some small talk and then she broke up with me. This honestly took me by surprise. She said she had thought about why she had been on Hinge and said that she was just unsure about me, and even after a year of being exclusive she's still unsure and is unsure if she will ever be sure. She also mentioned how upset she was that I broke her trust by going through her Hinge and that I never really trusted her. But ultimately she's saying she broke it off because it's not fair for me. She still remains adamant that she didn't cheat and that she's never lied to me, even though she deleted messages and changed her profile pics despite me asking previously. She then started to talk about all the nice times we've had together and how I'm such a good guy. She cried a lot and then stayed at the door as I drove off. My question is, what the hell just happened? Once again I feel like I'm in wrong. I think she may have a little cognitive dissonance with the Hinge thing and can't admit to herself what she's done. I also question if she thinks that she's done anything wrong. The whole trust thing is utter nonsense. Looking back, I gave her the benefit of the doubt in situations which I probably shouldn't have, but I trusted her. I know you guys were right and this needed to be over, but it sucks that she broke up with me. Obviously I'm very upset and miss her, but I think I miss the idea of her more than the real person. I understand it may take time, but I'll get over this and be even stronger at the other side, but it just really sucks at the min, so any advice to help me get over this would be appreciated. I've got a lot to process / think about, but if you guys want another post about relationship, just let me know. I'm finding it pretty cathartic writing it down. FYI, the holiday mentioned in my previous post was for a marathon, hence why I felt like I had to go even though it really confused things for me. Comments. Commenter 1. She just beat you to the punch. Commenter 2. OP dodged a bullet, I think. Commenter 3. LMAO, you didn't break her trust by going through her Hinge. She should never have been on there to begin with. She broke your trust. Run from that walking red flag. Commenter 4. She'll marry someone else, divorce within a few years. Then start looking for OP again with a sad tale of woe about how she's finally realized what she lost, throughout, to be precise, and how he's the only good guy she ever knew. When she comes back, he should tell her to EFF off, he doesn't date cheating trash, then ignore her. Commenter 5. So she's on Hinge while you were exclusive, yet apparently you are the one who broke trust by shining a light on that. That's world championship level gaslighting right there. The audacity is impressive. She only broke up with you to get in first to keep her fragile narcissistic ego intact. Stories number 29. My fiance moved someone in without asking me, and now I'm rethinking everything. My 26 fiance and I, 24, have been living together for about a year. Things were good, not perfect, but manageable. We both work full-time, split the rent, and we're in the middle of planning our wedding for next spring. Last month, he told me his best friend was going through a rough patch and needed a place to crash for a few days. I didn't love the idea, but I said okay because I figured it was temporary. That was 4 weeks ago. The guy is still here. Not only did he bring his whole gaming setup, he's also turned our living room into his personal lounge. He doesn't help with bills or chores, eats our groceries, and I've caught him going through my stuff more than once. I've brought it up to my fiancé multiple times, and he just says he's family and he'll get back on his feet soon. I feel like a stranger in my own home. This wasn't what I signed up for, and it's making me question if I want to marry someone who can't set boundaries or respect mine. Am I the jerk for wanting to walk away over this? Stories number 30. I, 25F, am hurt. My best friend, 26F, didn't stand up for me when someone in our friend group, 25F, uninvited me from a girl's trip the night before. Am I expecting too much from my best friend? Hi everyone. So I have a friend group from college and we all still hang out with each other as a group every couple of months. My best friend, let's call her A, and I hang out almost every weekend and are very close. She is also good friends with another girl in our group, let's call her B. B and I are not super close, but I always thought we were friendly together. I know in girlfriend groups it's normal to not be super close with everyone, and that's okay. I always tried to be her friend and treat her the same as the other girls. A few months ago, our group was at a picnic discussing a group trip. B said her family had a cabin upstate and we should all go up there for a weekend. Everyone agreed and we all set the date for this past weekend. Everything was great and normal these past weeks. We were all texting in a group chat about going on this trip and sharing what we're going to pack, what movies we're going to watch. The night before we're supposed to leave, B sends me a text message essentially saying, "Hi, I feel like we're not close friends. I think you don't like me and that's okay. I don't want us to be fake with each other, so it's for the best that you don't join us this weekend." I'm shocked, however I try to be understanding and tell her, I do like you and enjoy our hangouts. It's okay, we're not super close, I do not act fake around you. I totally understand and the group can go without me. If I did anything to hurt you, I'm sorry and am open to talking about it. This really hurt me. And I was in shock trying to figure out what happened and what I did wrong. I texted my best friend A who was attending the girls' trip to let her know I was uninvited. Her first reaction was basically, "Oh well, you girls weren't close anyways so it's whatever." She then said, "I hope you don't expect me to get in the middle of this, because I don't think it's my place and would affect my mental health." I of course, trying to be accommodating, said everything is okay and it's okay for her to not get involved. After a day of crying about this and feeling really awful, I realized that this was a really shitty thing that B did to me. And I also realized that my best friend there was not supportive of me. I don't expect my best friend to not go on the trip. But I expected her to acknowledge that what B did was really mean and awful. I just wanted her support and I was hoping that when inevitably the topic of me comes up during the girls' trip, she would stand up for me and say, "Hey, it's okay for you guys to not be friends, but it's not okay to exclude someone from a group event at the very last minute." I let her know that her lack of support was really hurtful to me. And if she was in my position, I would acknowledge that our mutual friend did something really awful. I would feel really bad going on this trip knowing A is at home feeling really hurt. She however thinks that this conflict is solely between B and me, and that she shouldn't get involved. She said she has an independent friendship with B, and that her getting involved will make things worse. Do you think it's wrong/too much to expect my best friend to stand up for me when our mutual friend uninvited me last minute to a group event? I'm not asking her to pick a side, however it feels like she's okay with B essentially bullying me. It's okay that she wants to be friends with B, that's totally acceptable. However, I do think you should have the courage to stand up to a friend who's bullying your other friend. Greatly appreciate your insights. Thank you. Edit. Thank you all for your comments. Really appreciate your insights. I agree that in principle friends should stick up for each other, but that's not always the reality. I'm okay with not being friends with this group. Friends change a lot in your 20s, I guess. Some stay, some go. It is what it is. I spoke to my best friend, A, and she's pretty set on that she shouldn't get in the way and that it's not her place to say anything. She also is now saying that she doesn't think I should be upset considering B and I were never close. And there were times I criticized B behind her back. So I shouldn't be upset. Maybe she's right, I shouldn't speak ill about someone, but I'm not perfect. And I think there's a difference between a private criticism and a direct offense. If that changes your perspective, let me know. Edit 2. I texted B and let her know her actions were mean-spirited and unkind. And I am okay not being friends. I left our group chat. I spoke to A and we agreed to take some time apart and speak in person about this next week. Edit 3. Hi all, here's a final update. I spoke to A on the phone and it seems we just don't see eye to eye on this case. She said she acknowledges I'm hurt, but ultimately it was B's choice. I think this argument was going in circles, so I decided to put the issue at rest there. I think though I'm valid in my ask, A is just not the person to support me in that way that I wish. A and I are still friends. I think that I'm willing to let this just be an isolated moment where we didn't align. And that's okay. I have other friends who are willing to stand up for me and I now have a newfound appreciation for them. A and I will continue to be friends, but I will keep this in mind for the future. I wanted to make an update post because there have been some revelations. But first, here's a big congrats to the commenter on my last post asking if there is a man involved. Turns out there is. My best friend, A, calls me to chat, a week after the whole uninvited situation happened. We talk like normal, and then she tells me that she wanted to tell me the truth about what happened and why I was uninvited. Here's what she tells me. Basically, a weekend before we were supposed to go to the cabin for a girls' trip, we all went out for drinks at a bar. There was our entire girl group, and a few other mutual friends. Basically, B was trying to set up A with one of the guys at that event. And turns out all of the girls in the group were upset with me because they thought I was flirting with him, knowing they were trying to set him and A up. This is news to me because I have given this man zero thought. This is all so out of left field. I just started laughing when they told me about this, because what the fuck? Let me clarify, I was not flirting with him. I didn't speak to him at all except for a few minutes very late into the night. From my perspective, he was the one asking me about my dating life, how I feel about men, etc. I had a similar conversation with the other girls and guys when the topic came up with them. I was not flirting with those other girls and guys either. Also, I would never flirt with a guy knowing my friend likes him. That's not the type of person I am. I thought my friends knew that. And I really thought I knew that about me. Anyways, I guess these things were being whispered about me, which led to B uninviting me completely. This was not brought up me before the girls' trip. A asked me if I found that guy attractive and I said no. That's basically the only communication about this situation I'm aware of. I don't know, I don't think I said anything flirtatious to him. I didn't ask him about his dating or sex life. I didn't touch him in any way. I didn't ask for his contact or anything. I was just being friendly. I just wish they'd asked me about the situation instead of assuming the worst of me. So yeah. I'm done being friends with these girls. It just feels like blatant slut shaming. I'm hurt by A, but I clarified to her that I would never do that and I'm sorry if my conversation with him looked flirtatious. I don't want to continue this fight because I have other priorities in my life. Thanks for your thoughts. Edit 1, just wanted to say I really appreciate your thoughts and your words of support. When A told me about this issue, I specifically told her that I don't want to be friends with people who assume the worst of me. And because I didn't want to argue, I just said A and I were fine. But I think you're right that she's also not been a good friend to me. And she did let her jealously get in between our friendship. Our first confrontation, in my original post, was really hostile. She kept telling me that it's not her place to get involved and it's between B and me. But actually this does have to do with A. And instead of telling me what was wrong, she just made me feel bad about being upset that I was excluded. I think I will kind of distance myself from her and we can be friends, but just not as close. As for the other girls in the group, screw 'em. I'm fine never hearing from them again. I have other friends who have my back. Thanks again. Stories number 31. I caught my boyfriend in an orgy with my best friend. I caught my boyfriend in an orgy with my best friend. Okay, I'm not even sure how to start this off. 1. This is my first post on Reddit. I heard you can share stories on this app and I need to tell someone or I'm gonna flip. Okay, I 24F and my boyfriend 26M have been together for almost 3 years. We've always had a good relationship. We had our moments, but ever since we've been together I've never even thought about anyone else. He's always been caring and thoughtful. Kinda the wow I can't believe he's mine type of guy, to me. A few months ago he started staying later at work, which I didn't think much of because he's never done anything for me not to trust him and am pretty secure in our relationship. However, as of recently, around 2/3 months ago, he's been coming home really tired. Like straight to sleep, not even hold a conversation tired. Now he works construction, so I figured it's pretty normal for him to work longer and be more tired due to that. This has put a major shift in our usual dynamic, but I really just wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt. Until around last week. Now I have a best friend who had to tease my boyfriend. Always saying he's controlling, doesn't want her to be friends with me anymore, etc. Granted, I don't do a lot I used to with her out of respect for my relationship. Now, last week. I don't even want to think about how they found this. One of my coworkers sent me a link. Isn't this, insert my boyfriend's name, I click it purely curious. Bam, full-blown orgy blown in my face, volume loud. And I'm shocked, confused, hurt even. Because I see my boyfriend taking on some chick doggy style. And I see the date set back about a month or so ago. Now I'm pissed. And about to send it to him when I see another face. I can't even make this up when I say my best friend was their face full of someone. I'm shocked. She was always a wild card, but never like that. I'm sick at this point, I don't even want to watch. I was so hurt and confused on why she wouldn't tell me, then I get my answer. Clip change, boom, front, bam, and center, my best friend is with my boyfriend. That way, and honestly I don't know what to say. What to do, I don't even know how to confront them. So I haven't. I'm sick to my stomach. I haven't even been home. I texted him, told him my mom's under the weather so I'm gonna visit her for the week, and he hasn't questioned me. I have absolutely no clue what to do. Stories number 32. My sister's friends drank an irreplaceable bottle of champagne. Myself, 34F, my sister, 28F, live together. I am technically disabled as I'm registered blind, and it is easier to live with someone for logistical reasons, although I'm very independent. My sister invited her work friends over after a night out. I was in bed with my dog and a guy stumbled into my room intoxicated. I screamed, "Get the fuck out." And for them to sort their shit out, slammed the door and stayed awake for a few hours. The next day they had gone, but as I went to the fridge I noticed something was missing. Later on, after we went shopping, something still wasn't right. By the evening I grabbed something and noticed there was a bottle missing. This bottle in context is a Paralympic bronze champagne. You could only get it if you won a bronze medal, which I did in Rio 2016. I had been saving it for a special occasion to drink with my dad, who was my coach, or just save it as memorabilia. I asked her where it was. She said sorry, they drank it whilst I was asleep. I lost my shit. The bottle is irreplaceable, and everyone knows not to touch it. The worst thing is she hid the bottle so I wouldn't see or notice. In her words, so I didn't get upset. I am not only upset over a bunch of drunk wasters drinking something I worked 8 years for and gave my lift to, but the fact she didn't deal with the situation, or tell me, is even more upsetting. Ivy told her I will never forgive her, not because they drank it but because she hid it and tried to lie. Ivy told her she has to tell them to come and apologize and get a replacement. I know they can't get a replacement, but to emphasize, don't touch what doesn't belong to you, as you don't know the value. Am I the asshole for being so angry and upset? And not willing to forgive the negligence and taking responsibility? I won't ever forgive her, but I will move on. Stories number 33. Aita for locking the bathroom door every morning because my roommate keeps trying to do her makeup while I'm in the shower. Hey y'all, I, 21F, live in a small 2-bedroom apartment with my roommate Hannah, 22F. We've been friends since high school, and living together started off great, until the daily morning chaos began. Here's the deal, we share one bathroom, and I usually shower around 7 a.m. before my classes. But for the past 2 months, Hannah has developed this habit of barging in while I'm in the shower just so she can do her makeup at the sink. At first, I thought it was a one-time thing. Nope. Now it's every day. I'll be in the shower, and suddenly the door swings open, she's blasting TikToks on her phone, talking to herself like she's doing a GRWM video. It's not even a quick, I just need to grab something, she'll be in there the whole time, humming and conjuring while I'm just trying to wash my hair in peace. I told her multiple times it makes me uncomfortable. I'm literally naked, and she just walks in like it's a public restroom. She says I'm being too uptight, and that it's not a big deal, because we're both girls. Cool, but no. Boundaries still exist. So last week, I started locking the door when I shower. She freaked out the first day, knocking like crazy, saying she was going to be late. I told her, girl, you knew I was in here at 7. It's been the same for months. Now she's mad and says I'm being inconsiderate and dramatic, and I'm messing up her routine. She also told some of our friends that I'm being rude and trying to make her life harder on purpose. One of them asked why I couldn't just wake up 15 minutes earlier or shower at night to avoid conflict. I'm sorry, what? I'm not the one who turned the bathroom into Sephora at sunrise. I just want a private shower. I'm not even locking the door for fun. I wouldn't walk in on her sitting on the toilet because I needed to brush my teeth. That's just weird. So, Aita for locking the bathroom door every morning even though it messes up her makeup time. I'm trying not to lose my mind here. Stories number 34. AIO for getting annoyed that my boyfriend pre-approved a name with his mom before talking to me. I'm 29F and my boyfriend, 31M, and I have been together for 3 years. We've started talking more seriously about having kids someday. Nothing immediate, but we've had some light name discussions, just for fun. A few nights ago, we were watching a movie and a character had a name I really liked. I mentioned it to him, kind of casually, like, that's a pretty name, I'd consider that someday. And he goes, oh yeah, that one's off the table. My mom hates it. I was confused and asked why that mattered. He said that a while back, he'd made a little list of names he liked and read them to his mom, just to get her opinion. Apparently she strongly disliked the one I mentioned, so now he sees it as vetoed. I told him it felt weird that he involved his mom in something so personal before even discussing it with me. Like, we're the ones who would be naming our child. Not her. He said I was being touchy and that he just wanted to make sure he didn't suggest anything that would offend his family. I said I didn't think our choices needed his mom's pre-approval, and he got defensive. Now things feel tense and I can't tell if I'm making it bigger than it is. It just bugged me that she has that kind of influence over something that should be between us. Stories number 35. Entitled mother-in-law keeps inserting herself into my son's moments. Well, I have a newborn, and now an infant, and I have an out-of-control grandma trying to insert herself into our special moments. It started at her jumping into photos but is getting much worse. Yesterday we took him for his first swim. I'm standing in the pool and my wife hands him to me. I put him in the water, he screams then calms down and we're hanging out enjoying the water. Grandma Obnoxious swoops in, grabs him and runs to the other side of the pool. I'm extra pissed because she took him to other side of it that had some pretty strong sun and he burns very quickly. Later that day we got him his first ice cream. He's loving it, and pushing the ice cream from the spoon into his mouth. She suddenly runs up and jams a spoonful of vanilla down his mouth and he starts crying and now hates ice cream. Luckily we don't live nearby, but she's already invited herself over in a few weeks. I might tell her we're going to Mars. Stories number 36. AITJ for trapping teen's car on my land after they parked illegally and started singing loudly when I was trying to sleep. Hey folks, first time poster, long time lurker. I'm a 54-year-old farmer, and this story has been eating at me for a few days now. I honestly don't know if I went too far, but here goes. I own a decent-sized piece of farmland in a rural area, and for the past few weeks, a group of teenagers from town has decided that my land is their personal parking lot. It started with 1 or 2 cars on weekends, then more showed up. At first, I figured they were just parking for a bit and didn't think much of it. But then they started coming more often, louder, rowdier, and more disrespectful every time. They'd park along the edge of one of my fields' land that I very clearly own and maintain. They'd blast music, scream, laugh late into the night, and even throw rocks at my goats and chickens like it was a carnival game. One of them actually climbed on top of my old tractor for selfies. I tried being polite at first. I walked out and asked them to leave. That only got me some sarcastic "yes, sir," and exaggerated salutes, followed by laughter as they peeled out, leaving tire tracks in the dirt. I put up a sign, "Private property, no parking," in big bold red letters. They knocked it over and spray painted a smiley face on it. The final straw came last week when they were out there again, this time in 4 separate cars, blaring some bass-heavy garbage at 11 p.m. I had an early morning of work ahead and couldn't sleep. I yelled from my porch to get off my land. One of them shouted back, "It's free country, boomer." Well, if it's a free country, I guess I'm free to plow my own damn field. The next morning was plow day. It had rained a bit the night before, so the ground was soft, perfect for my tractor and awful for car tires. I went out with my plow and did my usual work, but I made sure to do a very thorough job plowing around their parked cars. I didn't touch their vehicles, but I plowed the soil nice and deep around them in every direction. With the rain and the churned dirt, it turned into thick, sticky mud. When they came back later that afternoon, they were furious. One of the trucks got stuck trying to drive out. Another car's wheels spun until they gave up and called a tow. I just sat on my porch, sipping coffee and watching like it was a Netflix special. Later, one of their parents came by to chew me out for trapping their kids. I calmly pointed out that they were on private property without permission, had ignored my signs, and disrespected me multiple times. They called me petty. I said, if I can't protect my own land, what can I protect? Now some people in town are calling me farmer jerk and saying I escalated things unnecessarily. I didn't touch their cars, I just plowed my field. My field that they shouldn't have been on in the first place. Stories number 37. AIO for breaking up with my boyfriend for what he said to my brother at Walmart. I, 18F, took my boyfriend, 20M, to Walmart with our little brothers. We went to walk around and look for a few things. I saw these cute water bottles and said I've been wanting one for a while and might get it. He asked if I wanted him to buy it for me, I said sure. He then turned to my brother and said, she doesn't even deserve it. I couldn't help it, I started sobbing at Walmart. I was distraught and I felt so disrespected, especially since he said it to my little brother in front of a couple and a family. I called to him the rest of the time we were at Walmart. When we left we went to go drop off his brother at his foster home. I couldn't remember the exact turn to his street. I turned a little early and they both yelled at me saying it wasn't that street. I continued driving and asked which street it was. They ignored me and kept talking to themselves. I almost passed the street before my boyfriend shouted that I needed to turn. I was frightened and turned abruptly, almost hitting a parked car. I got so scared I cried and yelled at both of them that if they hadn't answered me when I asked I wouldn't have almost hit car. His brother just laughed and my boyfriend stayed silent. I dropped my brother off at home and then drove my boyfriend home. When we got there I was done. I told him I wanted to break up. He said I was just moody because I was going to get my period. When he realized I was serious he started crying begging me not to break up with him. He told me I couldn't give up on a relationship of 2 years because I overreacted to a comment he made. But it wasn't the first comment he said to my brother and I just couldn't tolerate the disrespect anymore. Was I really overreacting? Stories number 38. AITA for telling my husband that he can't come on our boys-only trip. When we were in college, my 30M friends decided to host an annual boys-only trip, where we go to hike, camp and just rewind off our stress. It happens only once a year on a weekend. The rules specifically said that no partners were to be brought along, as most of us were starting to date women at the time. I was single. Bringing in a romantic partner just seriously messes up the dynamic of the entire group. When I came out as gay, my entire friend group was extremely supportive. I got married to my husband, Kevin, 29M, 2 years ago, and we've been together for 4. The weekend is coming up soon, and Kevin asked me if he could come along since he is also a boy. I cited that no partners rule to him, but he said that was made with straight couples in mind, and he's true. It was originally made for only straight couples in mind. But we have also since agreed that bringing partners of any gender will ruin the dynamic of the group. I explained this gently to my husband. He said he understood, but he's been cold and distant, and when I asked him, he said that I'm promoting heteronormative values. Stories number 39. My mom used to accuse me and my dad of incest and I'll honestly never forgive her for it. My mom is a recovering alcoholic and overall piece of human excrement. This happened when she was drinking and I was a teen. My mom always favored my sister over the rest of us. Then my older brother, then my little brother, and she hated me most of all. She also was jealous because she never had a father figure growing up and I was close to my dad. So because she hated me so much she couldn't conceive of the idea that anyone, even my own father, could love me unless they were fucking me. So she accused me and my dad of incest, multiple times. There's some Mormon shit going on between you two, you're his second wife. She's a fucking disgusting freak to even think that, let alone say it, and I'll never forgive her for it. She apologized a few times, very mildly when she got sober. I'm sorry I said that, I never had a dad so I couldn't understand what you two had was normal. All shit that makes her out to be a victim instead of the fucking disgusting pervert she is. I fucking hate her and I can't wait for her to die so I can finally start visiting my dad in my hometown again without having to see her. Stories number 40. AITA for calling out my coworker in front of our manager after he took credit for my work. A couple months ago, my coworker Jason, the type of guy who wears a Bluetooth headset all day even though we work in the same open office, decided he was too busy to do the report we were both assigned. He straight up told our manager, I'll handle the presentation part, let someone else do the data stuff. Guess who someone else was? Me. I ended up staying late 3 nights that week just to get it done while Jason spent most of his time taking fake sounding calls and walking around like he was in suits. Then, during the actual meeting, this man has the audacity to say, we put a lot of effort into this. But here's the part that really sent me over the edge. Later that day, my manager pulled me aside to say Jason had asked if he could take the lead on more projects like this in the future, since he really stepped up. I stood there trying not to scream, like, what part of showing up and taking credit counts as stepping up? Dude didn't even open the spreadsheet. He literally used my exact words from a draft email in the damn presentation. So I finally snapped. I went straight to Jason in the break room and said, you really told, manager, you led that project? Are you kidding me? He tried to laugh it off and said, it was a team effort, man. I told him to stop using my work to boost himself and that next time I'd speak up during the meeting if he tried it again. Now people are acting like I overreacted and made things awkward. Aita for calling him out publicly instead of just letting it go.